Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome to the VCT CN. It is myself, Mad Dante, and of course, joining me on the cam, as you can see, is my boy Volt. How are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good. I'm hate maxing today, so everything is gonna be okay. You know what? FPX, they've been really touted highly, and credit where credit is due, they are a really dangerous team, but as you will figure out later throughout the day, I just don't believe that their win against Wolves mean as much as people think that it does.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's seen the socials. If not, you've very much just decided to put FPX on fraud watch, aka they have now been dubbed Fraud PX, which I'm sure will get circulated on socials, which will be quite a fun time to see. Getting into the matchup quickly, I just do want to talk about that. At the very least, FPX have beat Nova before. So that's something, but as you said just before we got in, you thought that that was maybe just a bit of a fluke and they didn't really do too much else after that.
Yeah, look, I'll be completely honest again. You know, FPX, pretty solid team. They got their win, but if you look at the matter that they get the win in, you know, every one of those teams that have returned from being at Toronto or like being at international events, they've been struck with a very like short fuse in terms of things. You know, all those other teams, they had their time to prepare, especially FPX being one of those teams that actually were a step away from attending Toronto. So it makes a lot of sense that, you know, they got the hunger in them, especially with Wolves going as far as they did in Toronto themselves. And it makes a lot of sense, you know, they were hungry. Sunset is fair, but I don't count week 1 Corrode. Nobody has figured the map out yet. I think it's just a fluke. It was an underperformance from Wolves, and Nova is probably gonna be their return to normality. Maybe they'll win, but most likely I don't expect Lightning to strike twice today.
That's fair. You know what? I can see that. And if we do have actually, I think that's a perfect time to mention, we do have now a big caster predictions from everyone on our side. So if you do want to quickly look at, this is what we've got. FPX. A lot of people are on the FPX hype train.
Including me.
Including you. This has been quite a difference maker. This is very much kind of a last second switch up from you in terms of the fraud PX, but there is a bit of love for Nova, and as we have talked about, you know, Nova haven't had the biggest difficulty with FPX before. Again, you're saying the last one was a fluke, but I very much believe that FPX can show they've still got it. I don't think it was a fluke, personally.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. If there are things to talk about FPX, you know, their stats in week 1 have been pretty nuts. And I'll also put credit where credit is due. I'm a big proponent of Legia, and he's done a lot of great work with the team in the offseason. So there are definitely a lot of strong points about the team themselves. It is just for me about the consistency of FPX, because that was their problem in stage 1. Sure, they were able to have some very decent performances, especially against the top teams, but somebody like Autumn disappeared a bit in playoffs. I don't think that's going to happen here, but maybe the run of form just won't be replicated, because honestly, it was also an underperformance from the players of Wolves. I don't think Nova's going to have that, because Nova too had plenty of rest, plenty of time to think and counter strat, and a win here today would truly solidify their position in the group.
We have been mentioning quite a lot in terms of the Masters kind of debuff. People have obviously, you know, the teams have either been traveling or they didn't quite get to make it to Masters, so they have been getting a little bit extra time to reconvene, regroup, get themselves some more practice. Corrode, which is really shaping up to be a super popular map, which is nice to see. Abyss did not get this love whenever it first came out. Sunset was not getting this big rate. Yeah. I like Abyss. I really do like Abyss personally. I know I'm kind of one of the lesser proponents of it, but I do. I think Abyss was well designed. It was just really difficult to take mid, but not in the map pool, so pretty irrelevant. But yeah, Corrode's pick rate, I think, surprising quite a lot of people. Definitely does need maybe a couple minor tweaks, as you said. Now we're starting to really find out how it's working, but again, we'll have to see if FPX or Nova maybe have some tricks up their sleeves for Corrode.
Yeah, and well, you know, the next map rotation might bring your beloved back. Icebox will go out the next time. We still don't know when that will happen. Maybe it will happen after champs. Maybe it'll happen a little bit before that. But what we are aware of is that the Chinese desk has been actually having a few of their own talking points. They talked about how FPX got plenty of people that can pick up the op, find the value, and how for Nova, of course, their last loss, that was a 2-1 loss against Dragons, that came through the dude has been stopped. Guang really didn't have a lot of real value when he was playing in there. Of course, unlike Autumn, who was popping off in their first matchup against Wolves.
We've talked a lot about this. The Valorant China, specifically the China network, it does seem to very much the teams have the kind of star player syndrome, and some of them are breaking free from that mold a little bit. Some of them are getting, you know, just a bit more cohesive and coordinated teams. You know, we've started to see Wolves is relying less on that star player. FPX, Nova, I think it is very much, you know, as we've said, Guang needs to show up, Autumn needs to show up, and speaking of showing up, they're about to show up on the stage as these walkouts begin, and there is a lot to be expected from both teams here. I think both teams have a lot of love, both teams are getting a lot of support here, and there will be some hearts broken depending on the win-loss of this.
Well, they got their first game, you know, FPX got a massive win against Wolves. Now it's time to prove that they got what it takes to see themselves for the entirety of their own group. They're gonna be walking out now. It is actually gonna be Nova out first, and you know what? For Nova, I feel like, you know, we talked about Guang a bit, but my eyes are actually on Azir and Monk, because they were the two players that I feel like have actually not really found the best degree of success in terms of kills. Well, assists are there, sure, but it is just about finishing off those rounds. Post plans for Nova was a real problem when they were playing against the RG.
Post plants really do seem to be quite a big problem for a lot of teams right now, and it really is something that's either just down to the compositions, not the total familiarity that you would maybe expect. There is also just down to a lot of, while neither of these teams have had quite a roster change in some time, the roster changes for a lot of different teams. I say that actually, you know, FPX has recently kind of found maybe their 5th member in Berlin coming back. So these roster changes, post-plant scenario very much relies on team cohesion. If one pair are looking at the same angle, you know, that leaves an angle free to get shot in the back or the side. So once that cohesion comes through, we might see that post-plant really start to skyrocket.
Yeah, you know, for Nova, you know, we talked about this, not a lot of roster movements. They should be pretty good. But again, for FPX, the main part of the movements that everybody talks about, and they are rightfully so talking about, is how much better they're looking. You know, they look a lot cleaner in the way that they execute on sites. They play mid-rounds, which is something that they're always good at. FPX were always great at mid-rounding. It was just the initial phase of the game and then the post-plant that I feel like they improved a lot upon once the Gaia has approached. So there is something that they can try to exploit Nova in, but we'll see if they're actually able to do that. Of course, a lot of that weight is on 24K, the counter strat, whatever FPX are going to come up with. But, you know, that leaves a pretty intriguing map veto, considering what the two teams have actually picked for their initial matchup. It was Ascent Icebox, I believe, and the third map was Lotus for DRG and Nova. A very different veto in comparison to the matchup that FPX played against Wolves.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see what that's going to change. You know, even talking about the last time that, you know, it's not Wolves specifically, but FPX going against Nova, they had opted for the kind of the Icebox split Ascent route. And as you were saying, just in terms of the map pool, then it means it's going to be pretty spaced out. You know, Corrode is still very much, I'd say, the what would kind of be the best, the wild card in terms of just, you still haven't really figured everything out. It's still so brand new. Everything else though is quite a bit more locked in, and as you said, you know, once Icebox leaves, we might actually see a second wildcard map in Abyss come through.
Well, you know what, there is some life for sure in this Icebox still, and FPX will be pretty happy in playing that. And just to reiterate, the 2-0 that Wolves have won actually in the beginning of their own map against Wolves, that was, they played the Sunset, they played the Corrode. They didn't even need to get to the decider. So that is also another part of the matchup where I think is going to be pretty intriguing, because the third map was also Haven. So it's 6 completely different maps played in those two best of threes, which means that when you meet halfway, there is actually a chance maybe for Nova to at least push this one into a map 3. Maybe Yosemite is going to be the X factor, to like that, because individual performances, especially on a map like a Sunset or a map like a Lotus can change a lot in the way that this game is going to be approached.
Kind of took the words out of my mouth. Aya as well, with how much the controllers have really been coming out. We've started to see like a lot of the double controller setups just because of the map pool, and that is going to be very reliant. You know, Yosemite, you know, as we've mentioned, obviously you've got Life and everyone going through, but it might really need to come down to Aya right now. So we'll get to see right now how the map lineups are looking. Of course, everyone just ready and good to go. And do you have any predictions for, let's just go for the initial ban, the map that we're not going to see?
I mean, FPX are gonna ban Lotus. That is for sure.
Okay.
And then when you consider the other end, I think that Nova has usually been actually there. What has been? I think their permaban has been. I don't even remember. That is crazy.
It's actually just slipped my mind as well now that you've said it.
Okay, no, they used to ban Bind, but this time they don't do that. They actually let it go as a decider. Instead, they take away the Sunset, which makes a lot of sense. It was the cleanest map that we've seen FPX play. And they're starting things off on Haven. I feel like that's pretty solid. It's one of their home turfs. Ascent, though, is going to be the intriguing one for FPX. That means that they must definitely have some preparation made for that. I like the veto. I think it is very susceptible, though, to go all the way to the decider.
I agree. I really do see it going towards Bind. The reason I see it going towards Bind, honestly, is FPX have been playing around a little bit with the kind of less standard Ascent meta comp. They have been maybe looking at changing it around, and I can see, honestly, the first map we go into Haven, FPX take it, they get confident, they do try something, you know, as kind of a Hail Mary for Ascent. Nova are able just to show them why the meta pick is the meta pick. They run that down, and then that's why we see Bind. So I'm gonna get comfy. I'm calling it that. I was originally believing this would be 2-0 to FPX. I'm now gonna put it 2-1.
Well, okay, you're starting to believe a little bit. Now you're going to be reeled in into them just not being able to put it off. Imagine if the Wolves lose this. Imagine if FPX loses this 2-0 after beating Wolves 2-0. That would be absolutely hilarious. But we'll just have to wait and see how things actually happen from here. Nova, I think that their most usual comp on the Haven has been the Neon Breach. Even when Atejo was taken out, they reverted back to other things. It's the Waylay from FPX. That is definitely quite unorthodox. And a Killjoy from Nova. They start an attack. So, you know, of course, the lockdown is going to have more value there. But I'm not really the biggest fan of the Killjoy as the Soul Sentinel in Haven comp, personally.
It's rough. You really have to play quite differently, not even in terms of just the Sentinel role, but you have to play the map very differently. Your post plant is obviously a lot better, which is, you know, at least favored. We see Nova are starting off on the attack, which is good for them, but they are going to have to really commit. And the comp is built for attack. You see the double controller set up, the Neon. It is very much kind of get in fast, get the spike planted, play off of that. Meanwhile, as you know, you kind of go through FPX not opting for the double controller. Waylay is wild. I still get very confused, isn't the word, but there's still so much that I know is going to surprise me with a Waylay pick. And I feel that she is still an agent that can be purely surprising off of her own terms, in the same way that Corrode is new. Waylay's not as new, of course, but
I mean, here's the thing. Do you know how long it took us to actually get Yoru and Neon in the meta and for people to realize how strong they were?
That's true.
It took them forever. I'm just going to say this. Credit where credit is due. Players like Martine have been pioneering something like that. Kangang have also pioneered the power of the Neon. Let's see if Life is able to prove that there's more to this Waylay than what initially has met the eye as we kick off our first game of our only best of 3 here today. Nova on attack. FPX chose to start on this defense, so hopefully they'll be able to make quick work of this pistol, because that's what they exactly need. And contrary to the usual, it's actually a defensive B setup. Usually you see defenses aggress to the window and try to make something happen early on in the round, but FPX happy to play reactive.
FPX very much understanding, and both teams are now already showing the understanding of how these comps are going to mix and match against each other. You're seeing Nova are wanting to play this default just for the map control in case FPX does get overly aggressive on their defense, but FPX seem very just locked down, very focused, very coordinated and committed. As now the Silva drone coming through is going to spot out Life. Doesn't get them tagged, I don't believe, but it's only Life on here, and we see the baits. The relay bolt comes through and Life falls immediately, the only player there for A-Site, and FPX don't seem to quite have the understanding. There's 4 members still looking towards that B main. They are very paranoid about this lurk that is not there.
Yeah, speaking of paranoia, already set up by Azir, looking much better here for Nova, and well, the way they still having some problems, they might have to walk in, but that combination play is devastating from the side of FPX. They'll be denied their entry. That is the paranoia. Snakebite is gonna come right after. And there it is. Now, they'll need to run through the utility. CB is able to use the vulnerable on Berlin. Find that kill. One more from Guang, leaving just Yosemite as the last player alive in Death Exchange. And even the right clicks will not be his reprieve. He goes down. It's the flawless start for Nova.
All of a sudden, it's only the first pistol round. Some people very much, and the teams are going to have to say, okay, yeah, move on. You know, obviously Nova, very much happy days. FPX are just going to need to move on, forget about it. It was just a kind of unfortunate read on which site was going to get pushed. We've seen how quickly Nova were happy just to run back around to A site, get any sort of control, and then read Nova off of that, or read FPX off of that control, and Nova played it absolutely phenomenal. The hype is up, and now we're going to be seeing a bit more of that standard issue aggression we would expect. And FPX are yet again trying to do a call out, trying to predict Nova, and it's not quite working out.
There's no other choice really but to take that gambit though, and that is the real thing. Like when you're playing full classics, you need to take a risk. They didn't pay off this time. That's the second time that Nova's going to be afforded an A site. Last time, Life couldn't do much. This time around, it is just going to be for free, and they didn't invest that much util into taking it. Just whatever it is that is normal for side execute. Now, they got the hold, and Spike is planted. It's a very long rotation for FPX, and there is realistically a question of, do they even attempt to go fight and try to inflict damage onto the members of Nova, or do they just at least try to deny them the extra credits that they would get for killing those classics?
It's a decision. FPX are aware, pretty likely at this stage. It is only one round, but there's been no real flanks or concerns, so FPX would have the read that all of Nova are stuck towards this backside, so playing exits isn't really something you can do. You might be able to get one onto Guang. In fact, it's actually Guang that's able to get one onto Life. The rest of the spike is gonna take the rest of the team down. Yosemite is able to get one, but honestly, Spike planted 4 members alive. You can't ask for a better start for Nova.
Yeah, especially when the casualty is just a player with the ghost. It's not really the end of the world for Nova. Their third round purchase is going to be so dangerous in comparison to the other end. And now you're looking at that. Just want you to look at the scoreboard. It is 5 rifles for Nova as well. Sure, 3 of those are Bulldogs, but they can be very devastating on the side of the attack, especially when you got the Neon, you got the Silva, a lot of the information, the area denial as well by the Viper is going to start to become valuable. This is the first time that we see them trying to play towards that C site, but they're a little bit more patient. They didn't spot any site for util, so immediately they realize that Tripwire didn't break. They just run back to the good old trusty A lobby.
And FPX have caught on a little bit. Life playing a bit more aggressively now towards this long side, getting spotted by the drone, having to back up just a little bit, but still very much wanting to keep this locked down, and does have the backup from Ayang right now, not stuck on their own like they were last time as the patience comes through as the setup. It's still very much, as you said, this tried and true A site, but FPX got a lot more to work with this time, got a lot more setups as the smokes comes through. The sonar dart immediately getting shot does give all the information. The relay bolt getting immediately countered by the fault line, and so far Nova can't just quite break onto this site.
Yeah, but they're trying to hold on. FPX re-peeking. It's gonna be dangerous. They go for the double peek. A great trade from Guang. Berlin find another kill towards A long, and that will deny the entry for Nova. Still, pretty doable situation here. 3 on 4. And Yosemite does not have any dark cover for the next 5 seconds. That is going to prompt a rotation that will come in from Life. He's on half health, but there is a peeking CV at the angle. They got the TP. It's a free kill to be delivered, and Yosemite is going to hold on for that B site. Not a lot more that they can do, and the paranoia is going to deny any opportunity for Kwang, and they got their round cleanly, might I say so.
Oh, clean, absolutely. They answered right back. 4 players alive, 4 guns saved, and no spike planted for Nova. Berlin, a very cheeky spray through the smoke. This was just a phenomenal usage, showing what Waylay can do with her equivalent of the run it back. Yosemite getting a little bit shaky, but with the timing still very much in their favor at that style. Look at that, already playing the crowd. It is the team of smiles, the team of teeth, and with that, now Nova trying to play the super aggressive C site. Yosemite doing his best to hold it back.
Well, how much can he really hold back for? I like that Nova didn't just immediately pull the trigger. They waited to see if there's something that FPX are going to do on the other extremities of the map, which they have actually done. Life, rather aggressive on this part of the map. The drone coming out. It won't detect that much. They know where Yosemite is already, but it's Autumn. That is going to be the question mark. Life on the angle, peeks in, finds Monk, and is able to dash out, and that is the power of the Waylay there. Quick dash covers a lot more distance in comparison to something like the Jet.
Watching, it's a little bit more, you know, hyperactive. It's a little bit more proactive than the Jet dash, which can be so reactive. But Life is showing exactly what you want to do. You want to be super aggressive. You want to get your isolated fights and then dash all the way the hell out to safety. And now we see the power of Cypher here set up. This is the difference between the Killjoy setup. The turret can do pretty similar things, but doesn't force quite as much slowdown because you don't have to respect the tripwires. That will be important for when the half begins. 20 seconds left though, and Nova honestly looking a little bit concerned. They're having to re-push towards this B site. It didn't work out for them last time. We'll see if they can make it work this time.
They spot Yosemite. No spike plant, at least for the time being. Berlin is still going to find Swirl for the opener. That is the spike down, but they're 3 on 5. And they will need to find something majestic on this hold. Not a lot of ultimates. The arrow doesn't spot that much. Azir, though, is caught by the angle. It's an excellent paranoia to stun their progress. And CB starts well on Yosemite. The rest of the players are at A-Link. Azir and Guang are going to hold that line. And it's Autumn now that had 4 teammates, all of which evaporated. And he doesn't really have a lot of time to. Gonna have to try to make the angle, but the double peak comes to perfection. A hat trick from CB. And that is the Nova that makes a lot of sense of why they picked this map.
Looking a bit more super than just Nova. A phenomenal initial pick from Life, a phenomenal follow-up from Berlin, and then CB deciding to end it all. Walks away with a 3K. Phenomenal placement, phenomenal positioning, phenomenal aim, and you can tell how fired up the Nova squad are from that. FPX look to potentially be taking the momentum away, but instead it's Nova hitting the ground and keeping running.
I mean, the thing is, yeah, look at the Waylay, man. Like, that massive effect that you can have. And I love that Life is playing Waylay very similarly to the way that you've seen ISO, for example, being played on the map. Like, it's very hyperactive. And the thing about the Waylay is that they require a lot less setup. And we've seen that being useful here. But the main concern for me is, like, how is that going to go on defense? You don't really have the same amount of speed and pace as somebody like Neon will have. You don't have the stun. Sure, like, the time slowing effect is a good replacement. But we will see if things would actually be a bit better. No more TP back for Life. He got the angle. Now they're spotted. And it's going to be easier to find a double opener. The B side has been the safe haven for Nova. And they're going to find it again. Spike in the hands of Swirl. A single more shot from Life would have actually decimated that round. But thankfully for Nova, they are able to get the plant. And it's in a pretty good angle. It's there for C-Link. It just might be that Berlin with that Sheriff might have the best chance for the team. They walk in the line, but Monk couldn't find either of those connections. And that is going to be a significant problem for them because Berlin is going to find another kill on top. 2 on 2 in this retake now.
Setup from Nova has been so strong. They've been playing this B site so well, and they continue to do it. The dash through is not enough to make life panic. The wall bang is attempted, and the flick from Ayang is absolutely filthy. Get on your feet, ladies and gentlemen. Celebrate what should have been a round for Nova, stolen from them by the members of Fraud PX.
Well, that is an absolutely great round, to be honest. But Azir just caught Yosemite there off guard, and it was this kill right there. If Monk found something, this round would have been done and dusted. But then being able to find the timing on Monk allowed that retake to happen. And, you know, credit where credit is due. Ayang was actually able to clutch that one with a beautiful transfer. Now, Nova still not fully broken. But if you look at their purchase, it's looking a lot worse for where they got the Hunter's Fury. But there are some ultimates that are also online, like the teleport there, and Waylay got the ultimate as well, but life immediately taken down. Good praise from Berlin on the backside. That's a pairing for him, and the B side is gonna go down. Monk with another good transfer of his, and he's gonna still find a third on A-Link, leaving Berlin in the clutch, and he will not be able to stand up to the mad scientist.
Anything you can do, we can do better. Monk very much looking locked in, looking disciplined. This shooting from himself, it looked like such a clean hold from Berlin and Autumn, and then 1, 2, there's a third coming through. It is through the paranoia. Monk has a presence of mind. Nothing will break his mentality. Nothing will break that fortitude. And Nova immediately answering an impossible round from FPX by essentially making one of their own.
Well, now FPX back on the weaker bite. They got the hero in that Guardian, and I is gonna find that one. They actually don't have the presence of mind to anticipate Yosemite. The ultimate could come in. Life a little bit more patient, but the spike in the middle of the open is going to be a real problem for Nova. The arrow destroyed, the push countered, and that is some safety for them, but the Guardian is still in playing with Ante, and that still scares me a little bit.
We've seen what both these teams can do. All Ayang needs to do, arguably, is swing, and he's confined one. That is another member down. And Nova, we have seen them play super patiently. There may be a rotate here. They may still be trying to find their footing. There's no smokes at the moment right now. Azir is waiting for that dark cover to come back. The Viper wall hasn't went down just yet, so there is that option for Monk. Viper's Pit as well online. If the plant can go down, this looks so solid for Nova, but we can see Ayang is ready. If there's one thing to hunt in a Viper's Pit, it is that oil.
Well, all the kills have come through his ear. They get the pit down, but time is going to be a problem if they're not careful. The Hunter's Fury can be the end of that round. It will deny the plant a second time, and will not actually be able to find a connection. Good movement from Azir. They plant smartly on backside, and they probably will be able to hear Autumn making his way on the other end. Love the movement from Azir. Just leave it, play towards metal, with the crossplay is going to be the important part, because Autumn crossing through long is going to find a proper timing here, unless Azir is aware. He peeks, he strikes, leaving the Viper in a 1-on-2. Monk has to do it on their own, and they already have found the first. They don't have the snake bite, but they can be pretty patient. As you can tell, the Viper's Pit expands all the way into that C-Link position. Is going to be a movement from Autumn. He's on 1 HP, and he's going to be found by Monk. Full house between the two controllers, and Nova keep hold of the Haven.
The Viper's Pit, the positioning, the setup, the Hunter's Fury was so good, but there is just enough space to work with. The flank may be a little too late to really work off of that forced off positioning. FPX have such solid starts to these rounds, and then just over time, Nova find their footing again and again and again. There is a perfect example of it, and you can see just how happy Nova are about getting it. Of course they are. FPX looking a little bit stumbly right now. It's still actually Ayang replacing Life this time. Life now opting just to push up towards that mid, but Nova, they have a minute 50 on the clock, and they are going to use that 1 minute 50 on the clock.
And it makes a lot of sense because last round they tried to step up the pace. FPX had a play in mind. This time they have the guns and they have a lot of ultimates. So you would be much better off just giving the respect to things like the Rolling Thunder and all the abilities that can come in. They have been attempting to hit that B side multiple times in this game. It's 8 rounds. I think like 3 of them from the 5 victories of Nova ended up in here in B. So, you know, they pulled a lot of pressure. Life have actually made his way out of that side. If he uses the ultimate, it's just the complete signal for Nova to move towards that A side where only Ion remains. He drones out, spotting Monk, and they're a little bit more patient as they are waiting for somebody to pull the trigger, but it hasn't been the case yet. Nova are still split, but they've made the read to the right side, and now A is going to be a problem for Nova.
The lockdown falls, and Nova are so patient. They finally do the lurk, and they pick up Berlin for their troubles. And the lockdown, they're happy enough. It's been pushed, but this is a fake. Nova have set up camp here more times than they can count. The timing from Autumn is just good enough to cause Guang to fall. The neural theft gives away all the positioning, but no one from FPX is quite there to actually take the site down just yet. The convergent paths show up. Nova, you can see how slow you actually become from it. Swirl doesn't really care, sends life on a different path all the way onto the afterlife.
Oh my god, see, you can win the round right then and there. He's got the read on both. The smoke is gonna fall off. That's the first kill. And he backs off for a second. Now Autumn has gotta be wary of the Sova, which gives Swirl a one-on-one duel against Yosemite. Yosemite, those strikes first. And that might be the entire play there. The Hunter's Fury comes in, denies the first bit, but he cannot deny the other half, and it's gonna be a round stuck. They did not expect the second player to be there, and FPX are gonna steal the round for Nova.
And that is a masterclass on why your HP is important and why just landing a body shot can be the difference maker. Of course, everyone wants to just land every headshot imaginable, but when you've got damage like that, another beautiful shot from Ayang, similarly from Swirl. This presence of mind, you'd mentioned it, CB was just on form, and they were able to play beautifully with each other off of it. Yosemite as well, able to tank that third Hunter's Fury, and that is enough to force the timeout here. Very even across both teams, so it is just a case of FPX, you know, maybe listening to Liguan and just thinking to themselves, how do they now foster this momentum? How do they keep it going?
You know what, I've got to say, I'm really happy with the way that both of those teams have been playing the Haven so far. It's really high level. I expected FPX to struggle a lot more than they have, but clearly they have a lot of good ideas. And that maybe is the most important part. But both teams really invested a lot, but I feel like FPX invested a lot more, which is why they've taken that timeout, because now they're gonna have to play around without a convergent path, without the Rolling Thunder, without a lot of the things that they relied upon to win this one. And Nova, with that double fake, especially with that lockdown, they almost won the round there. If it wasn't for a good individual play and just Monk being caught off by Autumn, things might have actually gone completely haywire for FPX.
But we do get back into it now. The only thing I really want to see from FPX is, like, the patience is really a big factor. Jumping back to that round where they only had the classics very quickly, they did, I think it was a, 2-2 at that point, and it could have easily made the scoreline a 4-4 right now instead of a 3-5, but they just swung that C-long with classics, and that basically never works out. So that would be something to consider. Other than that, pretty flawless play. And again, the setup's exactly how you would expect from Nova. Despite this super aggressive setup, it isn't aggressive off-round start. A minute, minute and a half just to sit, gather any information, see if FPX overcommit. They're not going to just yet. In fact, it's life to take down Monk and the opening pick. The Viper will not have to be worried about.
Yeah, they made a dash away from life. They can now change their optics. Going back to double down through long. Another player with a heavy shield, this time Swirl. Able to find the sweet connection for that kill. Teleport up in heaven, where they're going to be immediately starting to punish Azir. Probably a bit too aggressive, but they still find the kill at the end, and Swirl clears off the site. It's a 2-on-3. No ultimates present for FPX, but maybe a proper timing. Last time around, Autumn have found just the play. Azir is low on health, so he needs to be careful. Paranoia is set. Everything rests upon that timing, and Autumn again wins it now 1v1. The aftershock to rout them out from hell. They need to win that duel. It leaves the round in the hand of Swirl. He goes swinging and will find the second quad kill for Nova as they put a 6 on the board.
Beautiful movement, beautiful awareness there, knowing that your member has fallen in long, immediately go, okay, we need to take this 2 versus 1 against Berlin. Yes, okay, Berlin's able to get 1, but the trade is absolutely perfect, and then Swirl. This, from here, Yosemite is going to be kicking himself. That was all on the plate for him, and it just got snatched away. He's going to have to just move on from that, because that may have been the round of the half. That may have been the full decider. As we can see, both teams are very much set up for the sides that they're currently on. So once the side switch comes down, it is very important to have that score advantage even more than usual.
I mean, I'm still a little bit worried about FPX's attack with just a single duelist with the Waylay. We've seen that tried and honestly just completely fumbling. So I hope that they have better plans. It's an excellent shot from Berlin. Guang had no chance at that peak, and not even a Guardian needed. Just the classics are doing their work. The only Sheriff is there with Yosemite, but they start off pretty well. Swirl again being the main factor for their team. 4-on-5 on a retake, and honestly I shouldn't be worried about Nova. What I'm a little bit more worried about is the next 2 rounds, because I'm looking at the ultimate economy. Young is going to be closer than CB. When it comes to the Hunter's Fury, they are about halfway through as well for a lot of those other ultimates, whether it is the Rolling Thunder, the Converging Path. Any kill that they find here is a valuable resource for the final 2 rounds, and it does seem that FPX really wants those orbs in any way that they can. So that's why I'm really respecting the call from Nova to stand their ground and make sure to at least find a few kills right there, because that will push them too closer to their ultimates. They spot 2 players, but Azir, hungry for the one, has got to look for the other angle. He's going out with a knife, and thankfully he doesn't deliver kills to FPX. But that is, I'm taking that one. I don't think it's the end of the world if you lose 1 rifle.
No, I wouldn't say so either. And the ult economy, as you'd mentioned, it's very, very important as we get to these last 2 rounds. CB even able just to add 1 onto it there, as you say, that Hunter's Fury only being halfway to it. That is a death, that is a kill. So that's 2 more online for him. So he is exactly now halfway, 4 out of 8 with 2 rounds left. He can absolutely make this work. FPX, their best chance right now is actually a quick frag onto CB, but if you notice, he is stuck towards that mid, and they do get a quick frag. It is just onto Yosemite. That is the C site opened up, but not immediately pushing off of it.
Well, the operator on the opening live made a rotation with their own sniper, so it is a really good call from Nova that they just didn't pull the trigger yet. That positioning from Berlin is everything. That's why I love the patience from Nova. They know that they've let off a lot more control on the other ends of the map. Now they identify the op that is there in the C site. Love the verticality there from Life. He will find the kill for free. It's a beautiful move from the Waylay, and that might spring Berlin into action. 3 players there, but he's not really finding the shot, and that is a tremendous whiff that will allow Nova again to take that B side if they want to, but they fake that presence. They know that Life has made the rotation, and with that kill from Hung, we are back to parity.
Every time, I've said it before, FPX just have such a good start, and then Nova snatch it away from them. They continue to do so again and again. Autumn needs to really find someone here. He's got the Cypher Cam set up. The Sova Dart is scanning away. Monk doesn't have the Viper's Pit for the control, so FPX can afford to play this a bit more patiently. Set up towards heaven. The smoke is actually going to protect Autumn. He just dives out, but he gets immediately executed for it. Sent all the way back up to heaven by Monk, and the positioning from Nova, phenomenal. They have to run through the Viper Orb if you're the side of FPX, and it looks like they are opting just to save these rifles.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's a big investment to bring the op out, so you'll be taking that into the next round. But yeah, if they had a little bit of extra credits, I would have actually said that Young should just die and try to get the Hunter's Fury next round. But it's not going to be the case. They're going to be waiting a little bit, maybe fishing for an exit, but that will not be delivered to the Sova. So it's 8 on the board for Nova, exactly the kind of score that they want. 8-4 itself is going to be pretty okay, but 9-3 would be the icing on the cake as they make really FPX regret choosing that defense. And I really question why they even chose the defense on Haven, and right now we're seeing it play pretty well. You know, credit where credit is due. It was really inventive from Life to do things like that with Waylay, but that kill right there, it's an excellent adjustment from Monk, but you gotta say, like, Berlin should have at least had one kill there.
It's the question of how quickly Trigger Discipline can collapse and just become an unfortunate int, essentially, and Life yet again not really just happy to wait, and Ayang finds Swirl through the fast lane. No concerns there. Life takes the head off CB as fast as this round has begun. This is why Nova were playing it patiently. They decided to try and end off one Hail Mary, one send as fast as possible, and FPX have shot it down near flawlessly.
Yeah, it's not looking too good right now for Nova. And it was just a gambit there. If Life was on the C slide, that would have been a very different outcome. But the AWP locks the side down, 3 already for Life. And Guang has to take on an ace clutch. Looking for the next peak. They got the double lineup. That is the duel there. But Ayang is going to win that one outright. 8-4 is going to be the score. Still pretty respectable for both teams.
You're not dissatisfied with that at all, but it was very cool to see that. It was nice to see Nova basically kind of run the composition how it looked like it would be run on paper, very much just super fast commit utility usage, but FPX's positioning, FPX's awareness, FPX's just reliance on Life, and I don't even say reliance as like a crutch or anything, just the reliance on Life to get those opening picks, which he was doing very consistently. Maybe Life can do that on the attack, but as you said, far harder to get those setups for Waylay than it is on the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Life stat number is probably like 4 first bloods in the game, if I'm not wrong, with that first open here in this round. Yeah, and it is absolutely cracked. Honestly, like, it worked out really good. And that is, you know, an important part. And as far as whatever they're doing with the halftime, I guess it's just comparing what is more important to winning games, good skins or good peripherals. Yeah, I think, yeah, it is good skins against good peripherals. I'm gonna say this. You do get a placebo from a better skin. Whenever I got the Prelude to Chaos, I felt like I was cracking, but there's nothing like getting a must upgrade and just feeling that melt like butter in your hand.
I am, as someone who doesn't very much purchase skins, I believe I genuinely have, I think, 1 battle pass and maybe about 3 for rifles in my inventory. I know I'm a fake fan, but I will say the skin buff, the time I got, it was the 2.0 Prime, the Prime 2.0 Phantom. Oh, the next game, I assure you, I was not looking quite obviously like anyone else on this stage, but I was looking far sharper than I normally am, and unfortunately I don't think professionals really get the skin buff as much.
I mean, they get whatever skin that they want, and so that placebo goes away. But
yeah,
hey,
exactly.
You know what? They come around to my corner. Like, the new mice are just absolutely great. You know, like, guys, we went back from a day where everybody was playing with a G502 in the net cafes. Now there are a lot more innovation, a lot more great mice that just fits everybody perfectly. Whatever your style is, whatever your play is, FPX definitely has got a different style because they're relying on a single duelist Waylay on attack. They got a big stack here towards Garage, still got the fault line that they might want to use, but the Neon is ready. CB and Swirl on the angle. Azir's not even that far off either.
He's happy just to wait. They seem confident in this call that it is the C site. The sonar doesn't actually get the scan they would like, and Life will punish that. Will punish Swirls for his over-aggression. Ayang, there will be no re-swings, only into the afterlife. The double tap, making sure, oh my days, they are dead, Ayang. You can move on to the site. A little bit toxic, of course, all in good fun, and it is a mental game after all, as Guang trying to find and trying to return with a beautiful first shot of his own.
Imagine if Monk and Guang clutch this round and just shoot the dead bodies. That would be the ultimate disrespect, but not gonna be the case. You know what? Life worked out the round perfectly. That is exactly what you need. A little bit labor there in that exchange between Yosemite and Monk. And he will try to trespass, but I'm pretty sure a stack there is going to be too tough to handle. Monk peeks and goes down. A 5th for FPX. And I'm just going to say this. I do agree. Why are they even peeking? You didn't really need to work your way into garage. They do deserve to be teabagged. I'm sorry. They do deserve it. They deserve it. I'm taking that one.
It's all off the back of just that sonar dart. It doesn't quite hit the angle. CB, assuming that it maybe would have hit someone, comes through. Ayang, of course, adding salt to that wound. It's down to that sonar dart, and that's the information. That Haven is so important about that as we get on to the full buy now. FPX, that is a 50% win rate on the pistol. Exactly. Obviously, you'd want it higher, but can't really complain about a 50-50 on the pistol round. Nova trying this super aggressive defense towards the C site. Yosemite's got the read. Even just playing for the ult orb, I think, is a genius move.
Yeah, I like this a lot, CB. Worked his way in a deep angle. Yosemite definitely expects somebody to be there, but the shorty can indeed beat the Guardian to the punch up close. And that is going to be a consideration for them. If they do actually want to pull back towards that C slide, they definitely will have that in the back of their heads. But right now, Nova got the bigger stack towards that A slide. 3 players being present. There are not really a lot of investments. The only real purchase is actually the shorty. Some util, though, is present in their arsenal. And that could work its way. Now they send the Stinger. Is the right gun for the job. And actually Autumn will take down CB. Significant damage, but that's a C side open. And not a lot this Swirl can do with that measly classic.
Look at the push-up, though. Azir has only got the classic, but the timing, the Viper Orb is enough. And Life is trying to have to smooth around his opponents. He's able to take down Monk, but as you can see, it's all been for nothing. This C site has been taken, has been planted down. There is a gun now, at the very least, online for Guang and for Azir, but it might not be enough. We've seen what this Guardian has done, and Yosemite, the namesake of C site.
Yeah, that is an excellent hold from them. Any extra damage would be great for Nova, but that Marshall, the only player it can kill with a single shot to the torso, is going to be Autumn. Everybody else, it needs to be a precise shot to the head. 2 smokes in, 1 peek through. It is a first tap, but it should end up in an easy collection, and it will be the case. 3k for Autumn, and a 6th round on the board for FPX. Not the worst for Nova, considering that they've only bought a single shorty, but it definitely could have gone better if the shorty itself actually found the kill there to start off.
Very much downed. Honestly, Life finding that was disgusting. The movement. Life is making a hell of a display for how you play Waylay, for why Waylay should be ran a little bit more, or at the very least considered a little bit more. But now, this is when the full buys come up. This is now when you really have to look at it. Nova, the first 2 rounds, yet you lose the pistol. That's all well and good, it happens. This is now when you need to make your mark. You need to get the control, and we see the pivot from Guang already. The Killjoy now set up comfortably, as it usually is on C, with the backup of Monk, the backup of the Viper. Is a phenomenal setup, and the push to try and gain this garage control, very much explosive, but it is a fake. It's just to sell all of that as they pivot towards the B site, potentially unaware of Swirl's positioning. It's Life to take him down as all the trades come through.
Oh, Yosemite got the cross, and now CB has got to look both angles. He's trying to go for the one, found the Cypher, but a great trade from Life. And that exchange, 14 kills now to the namesake of the Waylay. Got another TP back if they want to, but that will not be pulled as of yet. The spike out in the open, though, and Guang might have a good read on the play. It's all about awareness on both ends, and Life will be spotted there by the angle, the silent drop to come in, and it is gonna be Azir. No paranoia, 2 shrouded steps, but he can hold the cross back towards that A site and give them the real chance. They're gonna clear the side itself. Azir finding a kill will be great, and they do that now, leaving Life in a 1-on-2 with not a lot of time left. He feels pressured to find the kill. He goes wide, then Azir saves the round. The gunplay going great for Nova as they stunned the progress of FPX.
You can really see the Venus flytrap of Nova just collapsing, just closing in on FPX there. They get that initial control, but not comfortably enough to fully walk away with it. We're seeing there the jitters, Life not quite able to land that shot until the very end, and Azir and co are able to just keep the momentum, keep the positioning, keep everyone in FPX trapped, and that's what we were saying. The full buys now coming up. The setups towards this A site. It's a beautiful sidestep from Monk. Immediately getting in on this. Meanwhile, on the mid side, it's Swirl to take down Autumn. Get all of that control. And now Nova very comfortably aware that FPX are looking towards this A site.
Yeah, now they got the information. They got the raid towards B. C-slide has been pretty clear for Guang. And they pull the rotations. Neon is also going to be really quick if they try to spring forward here, FPX. And as we said, the waylay can be explosive, but no conversions. At least not yet. There's an orb right in their face, but they would be foolish if they try to go for that at the beginning of the round. Some patience afforded here with Dante. And now the information coming in, that is the one angle the FPX can play for. And they will try to double dash Life in, I guess. The cover is there, and they're still going for the angle. Time lapse coming out. They are paranoid, and they will be forced off the angle. 40 seconds on the timer, and it seems like the B side is going to be their final destination.
And fittingly, for the title of the horror movie series, it could all end in tears. This could be a pre-written death sentence for FPX. That's a hell of a start. Swirl very much taking the matters into his own hands. Smoke is just a suggestion. CB, on the other hand, not quite able to get the space. Pops the sonar dart to try and control the space, but with 12 seconds left, the spike is yet to be planted. 9 as Yang and Yosemite are trying their best to fight, but with 4 seconds left, Monk is not going to give any time, and final destination indeed for FPX.
That is exactly what you want here. From the members of FPX, a little bit scary there with Azir missing those shots, but everybody else holding their ground. Great work from Swirl. What was that? Like, excuse me, what was that shot? And he was, by the way, just a fraction off on the flick. He did not account for the recoil when he flicked onto Life there on the reswing. It's great for Nova now. They got double digits Madante, and it is back to pistols. We have seen that Guardian do significant damage when it was on the defense. Now they're trying to put it off on the attack. Hunter's Fury coming in. The stun doesn't find that much, and that's both ultimates gone. Useless, realistically, when we're speaking about this. And the Viper is just able to pull the wall up, slow the pace of the game. They got the crossfire there, now 3 players on that A side, so it feels like FPX rushing the angle would be a bad choice. Is here with another kill. Berlin low on health, and that means he will have to pull back. And it seems like FPX, they try to put all their eggs in this basket, and it just didn't pan out for them.
All the utility was used. You had the ult, you had the fault line, and didn't find any marks. The 70's good for 1 at least as a consolation. That will be all he's good for, as Ayang just used that Hunter's Fury. It is unlikely we will be seeing another one popped this half. I say half as if there's a chance of overtime. And while there is technically a chance, it is very unlikely unless FPX can find something, can claw it out, and an additional kill is something. But that's all that will be found. FPX are needing to prevent Nova from 2 rounds. Every kill, every swing interaction matters from here on out massively.
Absolutely. No more room for error. If you're on the side of FPX, this is Nova's map pick, so of course you would expect it to go their way. And I would have to also add, like, probably the weakest map out of everything that was available from FPX with their initial ban in the veto, of course. Of course, if you do remember how the veto went, Nova banned the Sunset, FPX banned the Icebox, and I feel like if the Icebox was open, that would have been the choice anyways. So, pretty good game from Nova. It is a neck-and-neck game so far, but what I would expect with that second timeout coming in from FPX is that they will probably still have another set play that they would want to run, and if that works out, great. If it doesn't, then unfortunately for them, no more tricks in the playbook, and they might have to succumb to their fate.
It's down to what I would say the issue with FPX is, and what Nova was doing. Nova was playing the super patient game, like the ridiculously patient game on attack. Happy to run down, 90 seconds off the clock, try and get one frag, and then get the positioning. There is also it comes down to some of the shots that Nova's players have been hitting, Monk especially, have been ridiculous, and you wouldn't really expect those to be possibly hit, but of course that is the way of it. And I'd like to see FPX just get a pick, speed up, and just get onto a site, because right now, even when they're getting that initial frag, they're playing that patience, and it's a disservice to them.
Yeah, and it's all about the game of pacing. I mean, the operator on life is absolutely a choice, but he has been so efficient at work, and he can't find a surgical extraction for CB. He takes the wrong step. It's not really the best position for Sova to be in. It's a one and done, and you would really rely on that initiator util if you want to play for retakes. Not the case so far, though. FPX pulling back, only life left on the extremity. Everybody else playing towards Garage.
This is difficult, as you said, having your waylay on the op, on attack, your single duelist as well. You very much have to hope that someone from Nova peaks, and while they don't know that operator's online just yet, depending on this next swing, depending on the next 2 seconds, they very much will learn that. As it still just slows. We see the pivot towards the C site. There is the Killjoy setup, there is the Killjoy utility, and 2 members in Garage. Smoke coming through from Azir, and Life still got this angle on lock. Very confident in Azir's positioning and just waiting. Does have the refraction as well. Does have the convergent path. Has all of their utility, in fact. And FPX are going without it. They're just trying to walk on with the utility. And the op finally from Life picks up a frag. And the space C-site taken near flawlessly as Guang prevents Life from walking away.
Wavelength there, couldn't take them far enough. They go for the peak. It's a double standoff for Nova, and Guang pulls out the pistol. It is faster than reloading, and they'll find kills on the back of it. Now they are overdriven, and they're looking to finish off that round. Swirl with the final kill as the lightning gun comes out, and it gives match point to Nova. The frauds are on watch, Madante.
Oh, Volts. Oh, Volts, what have you done? What have you done? They are on Indeed watch. They have to now get 6 rounds back to back if they have even a chance. This setup was solid, but the punishment from Guang, Monk as well, just getting these refrags, that is ridiculous to be able, as you said yourself, the sidearm is faster than reloading. Take notes, ladies and gentlemen, and with that amount used, with the operator bought and kept to try and keep the momentum going, for the most part, the economies are solid, but FPX are having to lean on those Guardians a little bit harder than they'd maybe want to.
Yeah, and last down, they do have a lot of big ultimates though. The conversion path can make the beast slide an easy entry. Azir only got a single shrouded step. It's 4 players in, and they will outpace the Phantom Spray with the waylay for sure. Utility comes in, it does stun the Omen, and they will still find a frag, and Guang walks out, decimates the ranks, and it is only Yosemite on backside. Only a Guardian at hand, no other real tool, just the paranoia, and a single kill to their name. Nova starts off with a solid statement, 13-6 on map 1.
Solid is exactly how you describe that. Pure fundamentals, pure foundation, pure understanding of the composition that you went in with. FPX had moments of complete glory, but it just seemed that Nova were so much better prepared. Nova had everything down, had everything understood. And look at how quickly we get to see the angle. 1, 2, and 3. Guan G is able to make it work. And we now get to see everything come through. FPX had some, clutch moments, some real hero plays. But you talk about consistency, you gotta mention Nova.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody from the team had a pretty solid matchup, you gotta say, but for sure, the standouts for me are Monk and Swirl. Whether it was the solid play, the setups that they had, the little 1-2s especially. is going to be something that's important. And Monk, how many times have we seen Monk on the Viper come up with multi-kills? Him and Guang really short off a lot of the pressure for Nova, but it was a valiant effort from FPX. Maybe a little bit shocking to see Autumn and Berlin that week on this game. It's like 9 and 14, I believe, for Autumn, 7 and 17 for Berlin. So they didn't have the best of times. That will surely change once the Ascent comes around the corner. I'm interested to seeing, though, what will each of these two teams play, because there are definitely two metas now to the way that Ascent is played. I am a big proponent of the double sentinel comp. Just play for as long as you can on defense. And just to remind you, Nova will start on defense on the Ascent. So if they go for the double sentinel comp, they might literally have double digits on their start of that one too.
It's a big gambit. It really is. The decision making can go through, but we're going to hear the team comms now.
I jump in. Close one.
I doubt it. 2C. It's 2C.
So they are coming in English. That is an interesting part. Yeah, surely they will.
Been a little bit because Nova have had to really adapt, like Swirl and everything's a good example of learning the language, just of course, which you would think, you know, you would really believe is creating difficulty, but it's honestly been working out. The development and the understanding pretty flawless, all things considered.
I mean, I always say this, like, people overrate communication if things make sense, right? Because at the end of the day, like, you've played comp, I've played comp, all of us play ranked here. You usually just see a lot of different things happening, and the intriguing part is they switched to Mandarin again when Swirl is no longer in the round.
Gotta play it faster. You just gotta play it very. You know, what makes everything faster, and having to, you know, put that extra second in, or even half second, just to say, okay, how do you translate this, translating that in your mind, it can be the make or break. And Swirl, as we were talking about MVPs and such earlier, you were wanting to give it to one man, and there he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful display. 232 ACS. The KDA, yeah, the multi-kills are crazy. And honestly speaking, the average damage per round is the scariest part. He is averaging what is 1 kill's worth of damage a round. That is a dangerous statistic. Like, usually the best players in the world, you will see them like at 140 something, 150 something at the top. And that is a showing of a true superstar.
152, and Ayang, it does have to be mentioned, you know, 17 and 12, actually a higher ACS, but it was the rest of FPX that just couldn't really keep that ball rolling. Ayang would force, you know, a snowman in the most, you know, grittiest of concrete, but unfortunately the rest of FPX couldn't roll that ball all the way to its full conclusion, so it just kind of collapsed back into a messy sludge. But that was Haven, this is Ascent, and FPX are well known for having a very solid Ascent, it must be said.
Yeah, and that will, of course, pan out on that part. You look at the amount of retakes that both teams have actually committed to. It is just a single flawless for Nova, and I think that was against an eco. And a single clutch as well. And those factors are going to be much different in the Ascent. I think the post plants are a lot weaker in the Haven in general, but we've still seen some cracks, and that is something that maybe Yosemite can try to exploit once the Ascent comes around, because they will have to start an attack, and their post plants needs to be a lot better than what we've seen here.
I mean, an 8 to 10 conversion rate is insane for Nova. That exactly goes to show you that their attack was so well thought out, was so well planned out. But with that, we're going to just jump to a tiny little break while we do get the teams and everything all readied up for the second map. If you can just stick with us while we are through the break, it of course helps out the channel. We really do appreciate it. And if you do look down, we are starting to get you know, the little shout outs to the subscribers and such, so thank you all very much to that. But we will be back in just a moment with Game 2, potentially the last one, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between. I don't need to do the reintroductions for ourselves. I'm sure you know who we are at this stage, but we'll just get right into it. It is FPX versus Nova. There has been some accusations being said by my fellow caster here, and you know what, Vol? I'll let you just follow it up from there.
Hey, look, I'm not going to say they are accusations. I'm just going to say that they are the reality. It is on the board. Okay, it's a little bit flipped around, but you guys understand what it is. It's fraud PX. We'll see if they actually show up to the Ascent. It is a pretty difficult circumstance for them, especially considering how they lost individually. They didn't really show up, at least when I look at Autumn in Berlin. They didn't show up for map 1. Things needs to be different on this Ascent, but the scary part is, it's going to be Nova starting on defense in the Ascent. I anticipate double Sentinels from both comps, really. And that might mean that unless there is some individual overperformance from FPX this time around, it unironically could be a 2-0 for Nova here.
It could be. It could be. And honestly, the difference in seeing, you know, you were kind of saying that FPX just had, you know, a kind of out of this world performance with Wolves. And there were some doubters. I may or may not have been one.
Yeah,
I may have, Anna Corrode, which, you know, as you said, there may have been some doubters. May have been one of them. But we will see as we get on. As you said, we'll jump in now to discuss the double kind of controller and the double sentinel things that we've seen from Ascent. For anyone that knows, it's basically a nursery rhyme. The standard composition of Ascent has been kind of drilled into everyone's head at this stage with the double initiator, the KO, Sova, but this time we get to see it different. I said off stream while we were in break, it would be wild to see Waylay again from FPX, and wouldn't you know it, there she is.
Yeah, they put it again, and Autumn this time on a second duelist. It's double duelist from FPX. That is a pretty old comp, actually. That's like, what, the 2021 comp that we've seen when people were still picking the Phoenix? Nova, like a little bit fresher. It is pretty much the 2023 comp, just they swapped in the Jet for the Raze. It is a different proposition. I anticipate that maybe Nova thought that FPX were actually going to go for the double Sentinel, which if they actually won double Sentinel, that would have been the best comp to pick if you're on the side of Nova. FPX though, yeah, that's a big switch up, and I feel like stylistically, FPX should have the advantage with the type of comp that they're playing.
Taking Autumn off of Cypher and getting him on that Phoenix, on that duelist, on that big role is something that is going to hopefully make the difference between for FPX. And we've been obviously, you know, the desk are kind of mentioning right now in terms of, you know, the setups with how the performance from Phoenix is, how the performance has been coming through the, you know, the Yoru chamber that we've started to kind of see because of that mid control. But the compositions are pretty standard from the side of Nova. FPX trying to go out on a limb for the Waylay, and we'll have to see if it works out.
That is the power of double duelist. One faction in, you take the information, and then the Phoenix tries to spring in quickly and rapidly, I might add. Look at how far Yosemite and Life have gone. CB has the recon, had the shot, but could not land the headshot on Life, and now they are in a lot of danger. No pain shells, they need to line up those shots. Great work from Guan on the first, buying up some time for Swirl, but it will still be advantage for FPX with the A-site being there. Azir and Mun could be caught off guard. The Sheriff is wild though, and they will not be able to find a kill for now. A refraction backwards as it tries to escape the fate of being suppressed. That is going to be the case. Now numbers are even. HP a little bit advantageous for FPX, but Nova have each other's back with the buddy system.
Life's positioning here is very scary. You can see the members of Nova kind of counting down the shots, the paranoia. Life just having to spray and pray, and his prayers are answered. Autumn, with all the health to work with in the world, can survive a headshot at pretty close range right now. Just dancing around the generator. Oh, the timing is here. It looks like he has this, and he does, in fact, find the timing. A phenomenal showing from Nova. And yet again, what starts off so strong for FPX, Nova finds their footing and holds on, and could already be showing a complete mirror of Haven.
Yeah, it is looking really good right now from Nova on that retake. But I gotta say, that peak from Yosemite, that was a tad over ambitious. They had the numbers advantage. They could have played the site, just set up a crossfire, but when they didn't do that, Nova was able to punish. You can tell Ligeia is upset about that one, and rightfully so. I understand why Yosemite would have been confident in that one, but it didn't up panning out that well for them on the other end. Now, back on the save, FPX, single Sheriff, and they're trying to do some work, but instead it's going to be CV, and is playing trigonometry with that util. They spot two more players, dark cover, jump spot by the Spectre, and I love the respect there from Nova. You don't need to overpeak it, you already got your man advantage. Even if they get the orb, you still got control of all the important parts of the map.
You really do, and that alarm bot's going to keep it towards. I just want to quickly, it's for anyone that maybe thought that wall would prevent any further flashbacks of Sova being a nightmare off of the setup from B main. We have seen that is not the case. Whatever wall you build as high as it can be, members like CV can easily scale it and easily find you with the shock darts, as that has been enough to push FPX towards the A side. The Boomba comes through, does get the information, the knife. That suppress is huge. 3 members been spotted out. That is 3 out of the 4. There is that lurk towards mid, but honestly, Nova don't really seem to care about mid. You're going to rush into us with worse guns. We're going to have the positioning to back each other up. You want to take mid? Go for it.
Yeah, they got 2 players towards the side of 1 here, FPX. That fragment is going to be everything in that round to stop them from pushing for now. And they will need the killjoy to make a quicker movement. There's no time left in this round. Monk was the first. Young already brought pretty low. It should be easy for Swirl to find that connection. And then by the switch, great work from Nova. Another flawless round. They've got one in the previous, and they get one now.
This is concerning. Of course, they, FPX are expected not to be able to get, full control of that. They don't have the guns to work with. But that from CV to remind Autumn of days since past, of map layouts since gone. But speaking of gone, FPX are just opened up onto that A site. Good patience indeed. Excellent. We've said it ourselves that Nova were so happy to wait, and with a full buy now from FPX, they need to find something. They need to find the control, the positioning. But are Nova going to give it to them? Right now, the answer is confidently no.
Yeah, no way in hell. Nova, though. Maybe if there's one good thing for the favor of FPX is that this bonus round doesn't look as threatening as the past few. But the Bucky starts off really well. I'm going with the Marshall. Goodness gracious, I said it doesn't look scary because the guns are weaker, but instantly they find precise marksmanship, great positioning from the Bucky as well. 2 kills in the lead, and they will spot the other 2 players. Only one at mid, but they must understand there has to be a buddy to Young there.
At this point, FPX, you can already see, with life just kind of stuck there towards long in the smoke. He's waiting, but again, Nova, the commitment, the play off of each other, the complete restraint they are showing to get the frags and then leave. It is now all off in the refract. Life is trying to find any sort of space. The utility comes through. Monk bouncing the flash off of Generator to slow things down, and that is exactly what it does. Life finds one in the Stinger. This is the position you want to play at. The Bucky finds his shots yet again. Azir bouncing over the box, and suddenly Ayang has been slowed, and Nova are going to find him and shut him down. Oh, Volts, why must you caster curse Novus or FPX so hard?
Hey man, I am the one putting the throttle watch. I am here to curse them as hard as I can. And honestly, like, you look at that from Berlin, haphazard picks. Both extremities, you cannot be playing aggressive on either side. It's an either or. Yosemite has been over aggressive a few times in this matchup, and that is a beautiful conversion for Nova. There has to be a timeout now. Like, maybe if not this round, the next. Because things are looking too loose from FPX. I want to see them better drilled when they play those rounds. They are back to the save. Well, I say save, but they actually have invested slightly into this one. Yosemite got the Guardian. Mechanically, he's excellent, but he's yet to find a frag in this ascent.
It's a very much saving grace sort of thing right now, and now the members of Nova happy to actually push up, happy to push through, playing their advantage, playing that control that we've seen them do so well. CB opting for the orb. Absolutely jumps off, I believe, actually. I don't think that was picked up by anyone. Swirl, the warning shots do manage to find their target into a bit more lethality. As FPX, as you said, you know, they're looking a bit lost. They really need to get themselves coordinated, get themselves a bit more committed. At the moment, that's just not the case. They lose one member in market. Meanwhile, there's still a member in mid, and 3 haven't even got through B main. It's a massive split.
And it is the best weapon for the job that they have there towards mid. Yosemite, of course, working freely for now. He will be punished as soon as he tries to overstep into market itself. And that arrow from CB is going to spot them if they dare to push forward a little bit more. But it needs to come out quickly because they're already at lane. All 3 at the angle. Paranoia to fly and swirl. And Autumn is going to find the first shot. A second tag. Not finding that much, but it's only 15 seconds for the attackers. They're trying to deny as much space as they can from CB. But now Monk has come in with the fragment. And the kill from CB. Yosemite will not really do that much in the round. It should be over. And it will be. No dangers from Ion.
All of that effort towards mid, getting Yosemite there, and it gets shut down that quick. Meanwhile, the push on towards the B site is just too slow from FPX. CB able to keep them slowed, able to just fight the aggression off until the site is controlled. And that's that positioning from Life, the backup from Monk. It's very much a solid understanding from Nova, but honestly, FPX are making so many mistakes, and Nova are going to punish them. Still no timeout.
I gotta say, like, whatever work 24K has done, he's done well, but unfortunately for them, that was not the right play from Nova. The flash didn't connect. Is here, walked a bit too far forward, and now we're seeing problems. Yosemite is able to farm them up. 3 kills for the Killjoy already, and that is questionable decision for sure. And he's Guang is able to find the 1, but then the refraction putting Yosemite up to the ace. Only Monk left out in the open at middle, and he's gonna ascend up probably to deliver the sweet and final 5th for Yosemite.
Well, the F in FPX now either stands for 5k or fraud. Pick it, depending on your choice, ladies and gentlemen. But Yosemite showing what can happen if he's not on that lurk, if he's not trying to keep the positioning, if he's just given some space to work with. The shots are true, the shots are fine. The ace is found, lockdown online, and the ult economy now a massive factor going into the 6th round.
Yeah, ultimates present for both teams, but I feel like the ultimates from FPX are a lot better. It's just dark, from the shadows rather for the Omen. Meanwhile, on the other end, you got to run it back. A refraction comes in, and here is the Phoenix trying to use their second life. It way better into this round, but it's gonna be denied initially by Nova. Still, lockdown present. There is an operator, but it's not in the hands of Life. Instead, it is Berlin that is picking up the sniper. They'll be trying to make as much work as they can. It's a ton of resources invested in Melante, and they still couldn't crack their way out into the site itself. They are still banking on a mistake that will happen with FPX. The lockdown is a lot better, but this will spring FPX to be aggressive now. They try to play on the back of it. 2 kills to be found. Only a single trade from Monk is here with another one, and they're going to be caught in the middle of the detain. 2 players caught. At least Guang is there to trade a little bit more. He's left in a 1-on-2. The refraction doesn't do much. The headshot angle is present, but Berlin saves the round for FPX, double their tally.
Oh my. Whew. Okay.
I'm sweating.
Yeah, that was... There was a lot there. There was a lot there, and I'm still going to criticize FPX on that push in. You'd mentioned it, False, that there had been a lot pushed through. The run it back had been used, everything to kind of push through that A main, and they weren't even really pushed through. It had to be Yosemite with the lockdown towards tree to finally get some space. And FPX's position, just why are you not playing with Autumn on the run it back? Why is the Sova drone coming in after the run it back? It should be the other way around, and Autumn should have backup there. You're not going to get in through A main if you just commit like that. If you just, you know, sacrifice your ultimate and then send the oil drone in behind it. So FPX are able to make it work, but It was hard fought and a lot was used, as you said.
Yeah, and if Nova had actually a better idea of retaking to 3, the round would have worked a lot better for them. The problem is that they tried to anchor too hard on the side itself, and that came in to the benefit of FPX, who are scaling up. Life is there with the op, and you need to respect the sniper's presence. They know that it is there from the previous round for sure. But this is not the first time that Nova has opened up mid, but it might be the final time that they will do it without any punishment in return, because FPX got the angle for players that market, and Guang probably will be spotted. Light still holding on for the peak. They still got the raise from the shadows comes in, and they're gonna punish now.
The killjoy util from Guang just to try and buy himself some time. He sees that he's split. He knows that he's stuck in between. He just needs to get the timing, but this time he shot too early. He gave it away. It doesn't matter when Swirl and CB are there to save him. The frags are going every which way. Life is able to find one, but he has to swap it out. He shoots the op to try and bait Swirl into believing he still got it, but Swirl happy to take the bait, swings in, and this time the fish bites the bait. The fish takes the fishing rod out of the hands of the members of FPX and causes them to drown in their hubris.
I think he's the fish, but he's the apex predator. He's the bait, and he's the fisherman as well. Great setup there from Nova, honestly, between the paint shells and the showstopper. It denied a lot of the entry towards market, and then it was easy for Swirl and CB to just lock down the site with Guang. Great play from Nova. Surprising not to see a timeout yet from FPX. Well, there it is. Okay,
there it is. There it is. And I want to just talk about the cohesiveness of their attacks. I want to just say that the A split is like working on kind of, in theory, they're able to get on the tree, but Nova's capacity just to say, you're allowed to take this space, but you're renting it. You're in no way owning this position. You're in no way owning where you've got control of. We know how to retake it. We know what utility we need. We know who we want to send out to do it. Having players like Yosemite lurking down mid whenever they're clearly the one that's most on fire in terms of mechanical performance is a big thing. It is a minor thing. Yes, it is the Killjoy, the Sentinel is of course meant to lurk, but if your highest performing player right now isn't either of your duelists, Life has been doing fine, but we really need to be just working around Yosemite. Yosemite needs to be the one right behind either Autumn or Life to really play the refrag side at the moment, because if you see, it's 7 and 6 for Yosemite. Life's on 7 and 7, but Autumn, even Ayang, who we've seen a lot of on that first map, really struggling.
Yeah, you know, not really having the best of games. It's what, 0 and 6 now for Ayang, and the one thing that I just gotta say is that it has been really good usage of the KO value the whole time for Nova. This is not the first time that they let market open. They could have been punished this time. Thankfully, CB is still alive. Guang got the lockdown. They let them have the angle. Operator on watch. The shot there, not finding the sweet connection that they needed. Even though, by the way, if it went there, that would have been a kill. They know where they are, but they don't have the utility to clear them out. Berlin could find the first step, and the spike is actually going back towards B. It is apparent that they will want that eventual B split.
They do, and Berlin has been a little bit more of the lurk than replacing Yosemite, but Nova not really giving him anything for free. You can see Swirl is happy to commit all of the utility in this 1 versus 1. Meanwhile, the B main split. I say split, it's all remaining 4 members. The dark cover getting popped towards the defender side. The lockdown just to actually buy time here. It's a low buy from FPX, at least a little bit. You know, Autumn working with the sheriff, so the lockdown to buy time, only 20 seconds left. Is it enough as all 3 members of FPX emerge from that corner and Life takes the market control?
First pick in, the op shot, not finding the connection. Now they're down on site. Guang finds the first. The classic can find much more. And it's left to Swirl and Azir. No paint shells, no ultimates. They'll need to shoot their way out of this one. An upgrade picked up by both Ayang and Autumn. And maybe Azir will have an easy one-on-one duel in Pizza. Nobody's looking at the angle, but he's complacent in clearing. And it's a hat trick already for Life. Will be in line the quad kill. And that's the paint shells coming in again in the picture. Both of which in both. Neither are peeking yet. They're going to double peek that one. And they're going to make it look easy. A thrifty works. And Nova are stunted. That is an impressive round to find from FPX.
That is the adaptation. You only send one player up mid, but you play it faster. You don't wait for everything to come through. You don't wait for Life to try and get the frag. You force Nova to rotate earlier. You force Nova to have to take the fight on the B side, and then Life can get the frags. The alternative that FPX were playing was simply wait for Life to get a pick on mid, but if there's no engagements, if there's nothing happening, Nova have no reason to rotate into it, and yet again we're seeing the very aggressive A main start. The shoulder peek from that is going to be Swirl able to survive as Life not quite able to land the shot.
That's time. They sat here with a Bucky. Found the kills. That is foolish. TP, the step is shrouded. The kill is easy for Berlin, and they will deny any repeats on the other end. Now they spot the raise down to low HP already. Swirl, even if he has the ultimate, he cannot find a damn thing with the paranoia, and it's looking really clean from FPX this time around. They are easily able to handle those weaker weapons.
Still one frag from Monk, and he knows where to play the range of the Stinger. It's not going to be enough, of course. Berlin is able to take him down, get 3 kills for his trouble. But if you want to talk about ults very quickly, having... Never mind Guang taking a 1v1 with a classic at that range and winning is filthy, and has immediately shut me up. CB, like a duck at a shooting gallery, just finds Ayang jumping across that door frame. 2 versus 2 as the setup, the positioning. Autumn under hell. The Sova drone does find its mark. The Hunter's Fury similarly so. 1 versus 2 now for Autumn. Has to do everything.
And he's spotted. No, he's not, but they must know that he's in hell. He isolates the one-on-one. It's only a sheriff in the hands of CB, and Autumn is gonna clutch that round up.
Filthy, filthy stuff. And Guang on that classic shot is absolutely filthy. I really do. Yeah, that completely took out my point that I was going to mention. I can't even remember what it was. There is no point trying to remember.
There's no point in this either. Like, what was that try to step?
It was Nova maybe getting a bit antsy. Nova, I think, honestly, if you want an answer to that question, if you're not going for a rhetorical, if you want an answer, I think it's Nova getting a bit concerned that FPX could maybe bring this back, and they don't want to go to bind, so they're trying to play as aggressive and change it up. That you see now 2 members actually set up towards mid. This wasn't how they were playing before, and it could really turn around to bite them.
Well, the drone will come just in the right time there for CB, because they were planning to run it back. They spot the Phoenix, but are they even aware of the second player being present? The run it back is used. The nades are there, but Life opens up with a double kill. Back-to-back adjustments, and FPX got the lead, but they don't have the spike anymore. The Phoenix is caught. Swirl is a genius, and he's looking to fly in the sky to find more, but the players at 3 are already too far deep in, and they got the spike to plant on the A site. It's a 3-on-3, but Life is looking to seal the deal for FPX.
That's one. Just dashes out. No need to overcommit. Love to see it. We've been talking about that before. Yosemite is all the way. He hasn't left spawn. He paid for this spawn site. He's going to use the attacker spawn site as he waits through now. Finds the positioning onto Swirl. Only needed the body. And with Guang, the last man standing so far away from the A site, he's just trying his best to live, trying his best to maybe get an exit, but FPX know where he is. They're just going to run towards that defender spawn and get a sneak preview of what it's going to be like once these sides swap.
We'll have to wait and see how things go, though, in the long run. Because now that's another round on the board. The game is tied up, and ultimates are going to become a real concern. But the main thing that we have got to talk about here is that Nova had a good answer to whatever has been going on at mid with the Phoenix. It is just when this happens, it throws a monkey wrench at everything.
Even how Swirl was doing it, as you said, you know, the genius there, the showstopper, I'll say, is maybe arguably a little bit of an overheat. You got the 2 kills. You didn't need the showstopper necessarily. Of course, if it found a third, fantastic, but the information wasn't quite as there. So I think that was very much a double kill into I need to get more. And off the back of it, Nova now, we were asking FPX to call a timeout so frequently, you know, for 2, arguably 3 rounds. Nova, basically the moment the momentum shifts, that timeout's been called.
Yeah, and well, the momentum was taken back by FPX by the timeout, but I trust Legia to have a lot of work done with them. Nova, I know that 24K definitely got some plays, but the main thing is, whenever I think about Nova, I don't think about a team that has like an entire strat to how they want to execute a round start to finish. I think that they start in with an idea, they try to mid-round it pretty well, and then they play around it at the end. But for now though, economy shouldn't be a problem. Those last 2 rounds will probably dictate how the game goes, at least for the first half. 7-5 is going to be a great score for whichever team that wins, and I'm pretty sure that the economy is not in the best case for either. More so, of course, for Nova, as they have to save this one. They got a Judge, they got a Vandal, and they got a Suppression from Monk, where that null command can do some damage. And they try to use it early, but not a lot of chip really found there. You know, Autumn still pretty healthy at the end, and he's going to be able to heal up with that Phoenix Wall.
Yeah, happily, just to push it back. And we see Swirl yet again with a Judge. This happened once. It didn't work out the first time. It doesn't look like it's going to work out the second. The need from Monk to try and back up his teammate, unfortunately, not going to find any real value. The suppress comes through. The ult orb is picked up. Autumn, as you said, just able to get himself back up and running with it. The Sova drone comes through. And this is what I want to see. This is what I was saying, FPX. The attack there, a little bit more stable, a little bit more committed. But if you look towards that A site, Yosemite, the man who I said was maybe not the one you want to have lurking, hasn't found an interaction at all, but has got the A site for completely free and going to cause the rotate to come through.
Yeah, and by then it's going to be too little too late. Guang probably should save the Vandal. I think like the best course of action for you is just to maybe at least save that and try to send CB to fish for exits. But he's going to be walking such a long line against the Vandal. It's such an easy shot for Yosemite. And now it means that a 6th round is at the bare minimum confirmed for FPX. It's just about what Nova can do with that next purchase, because if you look at the ultimate economy with Ante, Hunter's Fury for Ayang, pathway conversions for life, no run it back, but you're not that far off from Yosemite also finding his own lockdown, so it is looking really dangerous in the next final round.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I'm honestly really thinking here, does Yosemite benefit from just dying to the spike to get the ult point off, or at the very least try and fight Guang, because that way he gets one ult point off of the lockdown, and because he's on the attacker side, obviously the orbs are much more favored. You kind of force the lockdown in that way. Of course it's not going to happen, so he is going to need to get a frag or just play off of both ult orbs. But there was a world where off the back of that, you know, you see 5,600 credits, you can afford to sacrifice the gun. This is the last round, so the full buy still happening.
Yeah, the full buy happening, and of course, as you can tell, for Nova, 1 ult for 2, and I think those are, what, it's 2 orbs, right? It's 2 orbs to lock down, so if they want to play the long game, FPX can definitely try to fish for either orbs if they want to, or at least get 1 orb and then use the spike plant to funnel in the ultimates for Yosemite. At the end of the game, that won't be the case for now. They're slowing down the pace, big aggression towards A long is gonna come in, and Izir got the paranoia and the shredded steps, so he could find the kill and go for a prompt exit.
He really needs to as well. If he gets stuck in wine at all, there is no one really to back him up. He's got the Killjoy utility in the back, but nothing there. And Life has been very paranoid about this wine cellar the whole time. And the Sova drones, the scan actually is here. Basically trapped. The scan doesn't matter. Oh, but it's a beautiful fake. It's incredible. The most smooth movement you have ever seen. And while it is the remaining members of Nova to pick up the frags, there is only one person to talk about that round.
That was an absolute steal. He tore everybody's eyes off, all of which are looking at A main. And that little bit of a distraction, as he said, Medante, afforded everybody else to just sit freely on A main, find those kills, despite Life just being as far down as he was in the angle. Everybody else was looking at his ear, and it made it easy. The smoke came in as well, and it made that cross near impossible. Such a good round from Nova and FPX. Like, yeah, you can tell. Like, what can he really do? Because that's what you expect when you're Izir and everybody's like looking your way. You got 3 players in A main, and he still TP'd in place, trusting that his team will have his back. 6-6 as we pivot over to the second half, and I cannot overstate the importance of the pistol.
it really cannot be. And one thing gotta point out very quickly during the halftime is as well, FPX have that more aggressive comp and they were only able to make it 6-6. The composition that we've seen, the 2023 one, as you said, has basically been tried and true for 2 years. It is very much the bread and butter of this map, and it might be enough for Nova just to tear the band-aid off and make this a 2-0. FPX are maybe going to struggle under.
Oh, I mean, I love the fan interviews. It's something that we actually don't get a lot of in EMEA. And yeah, you know, because it's also a great thing, you know, the interaction with the audience, the meme cams, the questions that China do in the halftime. It is always pretty great. And well, the questions that they asked was just, well, how Nova played on the map 1 and like the memorable plays that they had. And then it was like a much more of a future looking question maybe you and I can talk about is, what are the expectations for Nova now that they are on attack?
Play this the same way you have played this composition for the last 2 years. You do not need to overextend. You do not need to well, of course they are going onto the attack, so the over-aggression is a bit more warranted, but play together, play refrags, play positionally, get the spike planted, and don't concern yourself with anything further, as we're already in. FPX are going to have to play a bit more of an aggressive defense. Their map control, their positioning is going to be so pivotal, and the refrags are going to be do or die for them, as Nova already starting this off.
Double Duelist on the attack. They need to be proactive, and they have been. Found the opener, 3 players on mid, and then denied Nova. Getting back into that position. Monk low on health, 1 HP, and they are found. Great work from Azir. At least Autumn is gonna find something. For FPX there at the other part of the map, 2 on 4. And Guang and CB are playing the right way. Guang might have a good timing, both of which are not looking at him. If he swung wide, by the way, that might have been a double kill. But now they are inviting more pressure. He can hear the steps. Yosemite should be a free one. And that is an opportunity perhaps to send the other players, Monk and CB, to rotate over towards that A side. Not a fan of that too. You still got utility, Guang. You need to remain alive.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. Guang has, of course, all the Killjoy utility, the setup to kind of work. Not all of it, of course, did opt for the Ghost, but had enough that, you know, giving your life away for free like that, had there been 2 members of FPX on that defender side, you know, to take that fight, he's lost a lot of life because of it. There are still the sonar darts and such to go through, wall bangs and paranoias as Autumn causes CB to fall. Guang with a beautiful flick, only needed to land the body shot, and Monk stuck behind the door, has to knife it open, but with that, Ayang pretty comfortable, doesn't stick actually from Berlin, the double swing, that could be a mistake, tries to swing through now, Berlin able to keep it held and just watch the encounter go through.
I mean, Monk was on 3 HP. If he clutched that one, that would have been a miracle. Good play from FPX. You know, credit where credit is due. They started the round with such a great play in mind. Whether it is the reveal towards mid there, or the other parts of the play that they had with the double duelist aggressing through that mid arches. It made it very difficult for Nova to work their usual round. They tried to play slow, as he said, but it's going to be very difficult with a proactive double duelist setup.
You would really hope that the double duelist is enough to kind of break these defenses, but again, that's why Nova have opted for this very tried, very true composition. Again, the only change, as you mentioned, Vol, is the raise over the jet. Everything else is standard. The orb tap gets hit, and it is to actually bait out the swing, and it is beautifully played from Nova. The right click, it's a free gun, and Autumn will be cursing the fact that there is nothing he could have done about that.
Is it a free gun though? It's on the other side of the wall and is held adamantly by Ayang, and that could be a problem for Nova. Wong down to half health. He goes for the peak this time. They will be punished, but they've made the rotation towards the A site. Would it be understood by FPX to hold life? Thinking about rotating to the other end. Now it's Berlin in the angle. Caught him with a flash. Caught him with a try to step. He's in the middle of the line of fire, and that is going to leave him in harm's way. Yosemite holding down that A site pretty well. It's Swirl, who started off with a great right click, but he will not be able to find it at range this time. It is going to be Yosemite securing the conversion for FPX.
phenomenal such, and I do phenomenal stuff. And I do want to clarify one thing. When I said that's a free gun, I'm talking about the classic right click. I'm not talking about the gun you get from Autumn there. I'm talking about the fact you've got a shotgun that can do wonders like that. CV also investing in the right click, and Yosemite investing in the one tap. The namesake Guardian to shut it down. The op already online in life. He was solid with it on attack. He was great with it on defense in Haven. We can see how effective he'll be with it. Of course, it comes purely down to if Nova decide to ever push his site.
Yeah, it's not even that good looking. Off. Buy, I guess, for Nova when I think about it that way. Because you got a regen shield, a light shield. And not just the fact that the operator is gonna absolutely take down anyone, but those light shields are gonna be easy meats for the Bulldogs and the Guardians. So not the best of rounds. Immediately a refraction coming from Life. I love that he's re-peeking the angle, but they gotta be careful here. More presence from Nova detected at B halls, and they're gonna back off again. The ace slide tested. Yosemite still got the Guardian. Can he do it against better guns? The answer is gonna be an emphatic no, but maybe Berlin will have a say with the judge. They close the door. Berlin looking for the lineup. He almost found the kill there. Thankfully for Nova, that won't be the case. They are still equal in that retake.
We've talked about retakes before. FPX have struggled a little bit. Nova have been so solid on theirs. Will they change the tune this time? The utility coming down from Swirl is perfect. Berlin is just sitting there towards that tree site. Very paranoid, of course. There is no one there. Speaking of, it gets thrown out in the scan. Is going to mean his ear falls completely trivially. Monk is able to bring it down as the spike is really ticking now. Berlin is able to find Guang. 10 HP for Monk, Swirl and co. But the spike tipping down the way it is, it looks like Nova have done enough. Monk is in your walls. He's in your crates. And while you get the frag, Berlin is going to fall to the spike and Nova will take the round.
Nova takes the round, but they lose each and everything in that one. 5 players dead. That is still a pretty good outcome for FPX, all things considered. But they started off pretty well, you know. When the op came out, I thought, yeah, definitely FPX might do good things with that opener. And the retake wasn't half bad either, especially them killing Guang there on the trade. I think that was a pretty pivotal factor in them making it as close as it was. Still, Nova found the round. They are stalling all the work that is done on the other end. But as you can tell, FPX are the team that is actually in the advantage with that purchase. Nova is just going for the full save. We see 2 classics, 2 sheriffs, just a single stinger to be the purchase even after they've won.
It's not a bad call here. I mean, you've seen, as we've mentioned before, FPX do kind of need to play a little bit more of that aggressive defense with 2 duelists, and Nova seem very much ready to kind of wait for them. They are respecting this op from Life quite a bit more, but Life is not respecting the oil drone at all. Has to use the refraction to get out, blast himself back onto the site. Does take quite a lot more damage from it, and the showstopper decided to get popped. The flash is good to get Swirl onto the sidewalk, but it's only good to get him buried a bit deeper as the frags seem to go the one way of FPX, but now Nova trying to swing them back.
And they try to fire back. Ayong with a kill. 1 on 3 for Monk. He's already found his own pairing, and he might be able to sneak himself out. Not yet looked at by Autumn, but he gotta turn his back because that's the Phoenix with a free kill. Knifes out and punished by FPX. 2 rounds in the lead again, and it's starting to become dangerous for Nova.
Autumn really having the read there, and it's so clear whenever you do see someone that believes they've got the play, that believes, like Monk believing so happily had the positioning there, it just doesn't quite fall through. The Stinger really showing its merit, and Monk showing his quality even more, but it's not just quite enough. And the explosive play from Nova there, they've very much tried and true. Now they've got the showstopper was used last round to buy the space, but now with a lot more utility to go, the Hunter's Fury, the Null Command, this is theirs to lose.
Yeah, and really for Nova, it's just been at least about contingency. If they are able to win a round with numbers, things would be great for them. This is double duelist calm again. Aggressive, caught off. Beautiful work by Azir there to find the opening pick. Mid is open. The smoke is actually towards that B site. Nova can try to steal the page out of FPX's book. If they just play towards mid, they play towards market. They have the opportunity to split towards either end. If they go 3, then they are walking into the embrace of a very dangerous life. 16 and 13, and can add more with that Guardian.
A lot of members of both teams have been loving to add to the kill feed with that Guardian, as you've said. The Silver Drone, the null command to try and buy as much space in life is already good for one. Monk trying to match him with the Guardian. He will fall. And Azir, this timing, the slow place. But Berlin hears the footsteps. The Hunter's Fury immediately being fired out as well. Guang believing he got the frag, and he swung out a little bit earlier. He swung the sights to a different spot. He will, unfortunately, get shot down. And the defuse comes through. A lot happening in roughly 5 seconds.
That is a very rough round for Nova because they started off well. That opener there on Autumn, I thought, okay, definitely they have. But even if Life finds the kill, then they would have been able to trade it out. Didn't work out. And then Azir just making the noise. Like, 2 big mistakes back-to-back from Nova, and they immediately spring back to the timeout. It's double digits already for FPX, and as he said, I feel like Nova are banking and not making it all the way to the bind.
Unfortunately, a bit less of a secure bank, maybe a bit more of a bet, we should say, than maybe a bit more of an investment or a gamble than an investment, is the wording probably best used for, and so far it doesn't seem to be paying its dividends. Nova are really struggling to keep up with FPX at this stage. The pace of FPX, I think you'd mentioned it earlier, Vault, is just really 180'd. They're suddenly much more confident. Their positions are suddenly much stronger. Their utility management so much better, and their counterplay, their swings are just so much more cohesive. And Nova were happy to punish the mistakes of FPX, but now that FPX aren't making as many mistakes, Nova are crumbling.
Yeah, and it makes sense with the way that this game has been played. Nova has tried to find openers, but I feel like they have been over-forcing some of those duels. It hasn't been the cleanest in the way that they retake some of those angles. We've seen signs of that when they were on the defense. When, for example, the one round that FPX split towards 3 and put the lockdown there when they were playing on the attack, they didn't have the cleanest 3 retake, and that was one of the rounds that FPX were able to win on the attack. Now, the buy is a lot weaker. Nova has surely taken a timeout, but I'm pretty sure it's just something to try to speed up the pace. It's not going to work out that much for them. 2 kills, maybe a spike plant, but I feel like that's all that they're going to be able to muster. Even then, the Hunter's Fury comes in to slow that down for the time being. Autumn is at the angle, and they will be able to deny it for a little bit more, but Guang will be traded back well by Life. 1-on-2 for Azir. He's got a Phantom, but it feels like a very difficult retake, especially with the pathway conversions being at the ready.
It is indeed. And it has been popped, actually, as well. The positioning from Azir is perfect. We've seen what he can do with the silent step. We've seen he's got the from the shadows as well. At any point he can create, very fittingly, some paranoia there. Life actually sticking it to half, and because of that, punished for his over-aggression, for his over-confidence on that defuse. And Azir, maybe not exactly the most explosive player consistently, but when he has shown up, he has done work.
Yeah, it's a lot of great work there by Nova for sure. The double pick from Guang, I feel like we're everything in that round, and then there, they just gave him one-on-ones. And that was the main problem. They anticipated somebody to be at 3. They wanted to clear the site, but just diffusing the buddy system and trying to work on their own, that was their detriment. And now Nova are hot on their heels. Not a lot of money left for FPX. They try to speed it up again. They force the Killjoy utility, and they are away from the main stack of FPX that are all running their way from 3. They smoked it off. They just need to hold the line for a little bit more here.
A 5 versus 5 retake with a mid-rotate from FPX like that is absolute insanity. Life missing his shot, the paranoia to try and back him up, and it's all red on the kill feed. Autumn and Yosemite are fighting back. The From the Shadows strat to dodge the lockdown gets himself completely out. Life, though, not respecting the space that CB is trying to hold. And with that, the defuse is coming through. The lockdown has, of course, hit onto Guang. He's going to jump in. He tries to take his position on top, and Generator Life knocks him off of it. And the Seer, yet again, the man we have mentioned, will not be able to clutch it up again. Life shuts him down.
This is the second time that they tried to play into the lockdown and they couldn't find the kills necessary. They TP too late from the Omen and too far as well. And that is going to be punished there. It started off really great there. A double kill from Swirl that looked pristine. But then the trades from Life, especially that kill towards Wine, made it very telegraphed that they have both of their members up towards heaven. Disappointment on the odds of 24k. And FPX are in the final stretch.
Nova, no real buys. Berlin opting for a judge, and Life on this very, very long angle. Possibly one of the longest sightlines, probably the longest sightline in the current map pool. But of course, a very specific one at that. Meanwhile, it's Nova just smoking off everything towards the mid and pushing up through towards this tree. And Berlin is adequately set up with the judge. He's able to get 2, and he has the backup from the side of Autumn if he wants more.
Yeah, maybe more could be found. Life holding that line. Advantage, solidly with FPX, and that is going to be expanded yet further again. It is just pistols, so this is the expected outcome. Still quite worrying that Nova seems to have run out of ideas and they're just going for the default picks, you know, one man at a time, one dude at a time. It doesn't work, and the flash doesn't fare any better. Autumn spraying one through smoke. He got the spike on lock. The curveball will curve the fate of Guang into immediate death. It's a flawless round for FPX, and this could be their victory lap or the last stand for Nova.
Yeah, Nova, I mean, you can tell by the buy, they were very much wanting to play for overtime, which I think, honestly, the way we've been seeing is a bit of a misjudgment from them. To go 4 rounds back-to-back and then start playing for overtime is such a Hail Mary play. The alternative, of course, isn't much better. It is to buy up and force that 11th round and then essentially have to save this round if you fail, but that's playing more towards your possibilities. This way, I believe, is just... Yes, okay, you've got the better buy now, but you've got to do it 4 rounds back-to-back and then deal with FPX, who, over the course of this map, have warmed up to an insane degree. It really has to be said.
Yeah, and it's working quite well, if I'm going to be honest with you here in the state of this game for now, but we'll see if things do change. We still are waiting for Nova to make their last stand. They got 2 more orbs for Guang, for him to find his own lockdown. Showstopper available on the money. They know that the Killjoy is here in that side. There's a lot of utility for. Showstopper is in. Not at the right angle. And Yosemite could twist the dagger at the hearts of Nova to end this ascent. 2 players caught him in air. And it's going to be Life and Yosemite to find the kill. Straight it back by Azir and Guang. But it leaves just the Omen. 1 on 3. He spots the TP. And he's looking for blood. They turn around for him. And he finishes the job. We are going all the distance today, Dante.
Oh, Azir could have. If there was one person I believed, it was the performance from Azir that we had seen, but not quite. FPX are able to take it. So that's 2 pretty convincing maps, honestly. We have a 13-6 or 7 and then a 13-8. So both teams very much showing that their maps are where they're confident, where they want to lie. And now it's Bind as the decider, the gentleman's agreement. But first, we've got to really talk about the position usage. Yosemite, once he was able to find people to kill, he was doing it. It was that initial start where he was struggling to get the engagements, to join in really with the fights because of those lurks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you gotta say, unlike the Haven, I feel like they found a lot more value for the Waylay as the part of the double Duelist combination. The single Duelist Waylay didn't really find that much of the value. This time though, a much better game from Yosemite once he got that ace. I feel like he got the ball rolling And Nova still feeding some of the growing pains from Haven, adding on top much better form from FPX in map 2.
Yeah, in terms of Life's Waylay, honestly, the way Life was playing Waylay back on Haven, it just reminded me of a worse Chamber. You know, like the TP isn't as good as Chambers. Like, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not as effective. You lose out on Headhunter. You don't have Tour de Force as well. Convergent Pass is a great ult, don't get me wrong, but in comparison to an AWP that's free, that fires faster, that does more damage, and, you know, has a better penetration, yeah, you kind of see which ultimate is better. So having that additional backup from Autumn, like you said, turns out that's the key. That's the key to making Waylay work.
Yeah, and honestly, Autumn been on a quite hard run of form. With that clutch there from Azir, I thought that maybe this would turn things around, but it just proved to be just a mere bump in the road with Dante. And you gotta say, this round here, while we are seeing the communications from the perspective of FPX, it was just a massive misplay at the 1-2 of the Satchel. The Satchels didn't even take Swirl over the wall, and the flash popped in front of the wall too. Like, what went on there? I don't know.
It's reassuring's maybe the word for a viewer, but it's very humbling, or I guess, you know, interesting to see that yes, these lineups have been practiced time and time again, but occasionally they will miss.
They're one of us. That's all we can say. They are one of us.
They are humans like ourselves. And speaking of, I think we'd already kind of expected it. It is, of course, going to be Life, and you'd said far better showing from Waylay.
Yeah, much cleaner here. 324 ACS, 222 damage per round. Absolute monster numbers. 7 multi-kills, so that is even besting the last map's result. That was the MVP, of course, with Swirl from map 1. Now we'll see how things go on the blind. I feel like we've definitely drawn a very solid picture. If you look at the scoreboard, it has also been a reflection of map 1. Yosemite, though, much better looking, and I feel like that was a difference maker here for FPX.
Yosemite seems to, if he's able to kind of start the engagements or play with his team, he's fine. But the minute he is swinging, you know, like an engagement that's already began, he seems to falter because he can't quite get the angle in time. He does just get, you know, shot out beforehand. But if he's the one able to set it up, if he's the one to make the play, then you get to see it. And it's good to see that Yosemite was quite a bit more active there on that second half.
Yeah, the activity shows up a lot this time, a lot less plants, a lot less post plants also working out for Nova. FPX having the better of their opposition in each and every metric. 2 flawlesses, and that is a single ace, of course, that was on the board for Yosemite in that round that we've seen in the team comps. Things are looking great for FPX, but I still think that it's going to be intriguing to see if they're going to run the Waylay third time as well, because they seem to be one of the believers. I can start to see why, but if they bring a single duelist Waylay into that bind, I'll be pretty disappointed, honestly.
Yeah, I think we've seen that you very much need a second duelist to kind of back Waylay up, especially going into bind, which has had the double controller for so long. You know, in Viper Brimstone, there's a lot to be curious about. And to be fair, FPX, you know, we've talked about the 2023 meta in Ascent and how solid it's been. So the fact that FPX were able to bring up something slightly different and make it work is pretty phenomenal. But we will just be jumping to, I guess, our last final break of the day. So we'll just be letting the players get all set up. I need myself a glass of water, to be honest, because my voice is starting to go. If you can just hang out with us in the break, of course it does support us, but we will be right back. here we are, ladies and gentlemen. A place that I'm quite surprised we landed at, and I think, Volt, you are too.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know what, I'm happy enough that we got here. I feel like 3 maps is a very fair outcome considering how good FPX have played that one. I'm gonna take it away, guys. Like, whoever is saying, yeah, I called them frauds. I called them frauds, but they showed up for map 2. Big time. Yosemite showed up. If he does that again, we're gonna have a very intriguing bind. But as we said, I feel like a lot is going to rely on that agent select. He talked about the importance of those double controllers, how pivotal the Viper has been. I think it's about damn time that we have a freshening up in the meta of this bind here. Please show me something new. I just want to see, like, a waylay here. I'm going to be honest with you.
I was gonna, like, honestly, I could see a world now. Maybe this is just rad coping out of my mind, but I could see a world where that composition we just seen from FPX may actually be the thing to circumvent the current set, the 2023 comp. The ability to have Waylay being backed up by, like, someone as fast-paced as a Phoenix, maybe that gets changed out for, like, a Yoru or something. We can, you know, yet to see that as obviously things develop, but I was very much expecting that to falter whenever the side swapped, just because the composition that we've seen, obviously being run from the opposition is just so standard from Nova. So the fact that that's getting upset, we could see it again. And Bind is definitely a place where wacky compositions can still shine through.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I feel like the Waylay is going to gain a ton of value from is just how claustrophobic some of the parts of the map are. Because when I think about that, you know, refraction is going to have a lot of value. A teleport is going to have a lot of value. Take all of that back because we are seeing quite a switch up. I love the 2 comps. I am a massive proponent of Deadlock on Bind. So, you know, my heart is fluttering as much as I want to say they're still not out of the front watch. They've picked the kind of comp that I love to see.
They're buttering up the fraud watch to be a little more lenient, I think, is what's happening right now. They very much understand that they're under the microscope, so any kind of extra credit they can get is more than loved for it. It seems that Nova are very much happier to stick to the meta, you know, a little bit more than what we've seen, because the Yoru Teho, like, kind of breach setup, they were running the double sentinel. It's cool to see. It's great seeing Vise. It's great seeing the change in initiator. We've got a Fade on one side. We've got a Sky on the other. The teams very much have 2 similar, but yet very different plans for this stage.
Yeah, if there's a more versatile initiator, it's probably going to be that Sky, the solo initiator setup. But the Fade offers a lot more on this bind, I feel. Not just the reveals, the amount of power that you have in the Prowler clearing those tight angles like showers, like hookah. We'll see though how things go. This is this is the last and final map of this best of 3. It was close calls on either maps, but never once we've seen one team really grasp control once they have been set far behind. Things will start now as FPX and Nova start the pistol round. The Deadlock already with a great grab net to slow the pace of Nova advancing onto that A site.
Meanwhile, Life has already got the flank, just on the raise this time, not opting for their Waylay, but happy enough to get 2 and happy enough to be followed up by 2 other members of FPX on that Aya, and Berlin actually overcooking a little bit, to be honest. That is not your spawn, but it will be your grave, as the double set up still very comfortably towards A, and Nova very much been picked apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Piece by piece. They've been taken down. The triple push from FPX was ingenious. Monk was already low in HP from that initial set of movement, so they can try to go for the detection. Ayong and Life, neither of which are looking at long now, which might lead to a sitter if they found the right timing. But now Ayong is gonna try to recompute the space just in the right time. They spot the Viper, and now they know that with the Brimstone smoke, he's got to be there as well. TPs probably to be taken. I am not sure if that's the right call to commit towards that B site, both of which are flashed, and Life is in a great angle. Yosemite with the double shots, and even then, if there was any chance for Swirl, he would have been caught by the sonic sensor at the other end. 2 right clicks, a double left click, and it's an easy and clean round for FPX and the pistol.
A good start for them indeed. You mentioned it, the GravNet at the start, the Deadlock capacity, the utility that they have. It's wild seeing the difference that the GravNet becoming the reset utility has become, and the wall becoming the buyable. Arguably was a nerf to start with, as is seeming to have kind of shown its head as a buff.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I love changes like these because it allows a lot of players to like experiment. And that is the big part. Like, you know, like when the changes to the relay bolt, for example, happened with the Neon, a lot of people thought, okay, you only get one instead of two. But it being that much bigger meant that now, in addition with the breach, you can unironically cut off like 80% of the playable space in a site. And it ended up being a true buff. It's just that now you need to be more conscious in the way that you use your util. Just like Nova were conscious that there's no way for them to actually get into that shower's position and then work their way into the A site. I am not against them taking a peek like that, but live finding a double kill with a second no scope is going to make it a bit more difficult for Nova to claw their way back. There's still, of course, the setup from the Vice at A. It is a deadlock on the better side for deadlock, definitely for sure, on that B site.
It absolutely is. And FPX, the more their kind of command leads, the more their kind of presence shows, they may get known as the meta killers here, you know, opting for foregoing the double controller, instead opting for the double sentinel is very interesting, and we can see the power of it right now. It does mean obviously they want as many defensive rounds as they can get, but when you've got Autumn shooting shots like that and dropping all members of Nova in front of him, it's really all you can ask for on top of a phenomenal setup from himself.
Sentinels are proving their worth. 3 kills from 70 on the pistols, 3 from Autumn on the bonus, and it's looking pretty nice from FPX. Now just need to hold on when the time comes. 3 Guardians are scary, Medante, but 3 Light Shields as well means that those Phantoms have a lot more potency on the side of Nova.
That's true. That is very much true for it, because it can be now 3 shots instead of 4, depending on, of course, wall bangs and such. Guang just holding this fountain area down, trying his best to make a wish, and that wish is that the A site is a bit emptier for his team, and of course we know that's the case, but the power of Vice, you have to try and get that wall activated and then back out, but you can't break it, you can't do anything else, you have to respect it, you have to just jump in and out. So the time already been killed, 40 seconds already off the clock as it continues to tick down, and Nova still a little bit hesitant on a decision on which site they want to push.
And it makes a lot of sense, because if you look at the B slide, the utility presence from the deadlock means that they can double hold long, and they can just hold that part of the map for as long as they want. The wall comes in, and the barriers are so tough to crack. 26 shots from a Vandal, 31 from a Phantom to take the entire things down. Yosemite knows where Monk is. They're gonna try to route him out with an incendiary. If they use that though, they might be caught off guard by the remaining members. Remember, no further util for the Vice, but those swords, they got used in the right time, and Berlin chimes in with 1 swirl already. As low as he is, he needs to be very careful about taking those duels caught on in the open. Easy work for the Spectre, and it seems like the bonus will be converted. FPX only need to hold on for 15 more seconds. They're denying the plant. Guang needs to come up with clutch. He finds the 1 and a second, but could not transfer onto the 3rd. CB needed to find that shot, and he just couldn't tame the spray in time, and it is going to be a conversion for FPX on the bonus.
Suddenly, the fraud squad are having to be called off, potentially. Vaults, the lineups, the positionings, the setups from FPX have been pretty damn flawless this last map, and the duration of this map so far, it seems very difficult to crack. In fact, it's so tough to crack that it is going to be a quite reasonable and expected timeout from Nova.
Yeah, there are things definitely to be noticed here by 24K for the rest of the team. It's the setups that they've had, and whether or not they're swap sentis after that timeout is going to be the important part. Because right now there have been an initial piece of conditioning that was established. Deadlock playing B. The rest of the players of FPX that are on the B side are fighting tooth and nail for B long. So it's clear that they want to keep one part of the map as per the usual playstyle of the bind. You at least want to keep holding one of those 2 lanes to have power in the retakes. But the harder part for sure that I feel like FPX are making Nova suffer on is that the wall from the Vice is a lot deeper. It's much more difficult to bait out. And that makes it that they need to take some of those duels, which they have not been actually successful on for the most part.
The Vise wall is very much set up in a way that it's not meant to slow down an aggression, it's meant to cut an aggression in half. You're allowed to walk onto site should you wish, but you're going to have to split up. You're going to have to essentially take two different routes. You're forcing half of Nova to go into lamps, you're forcing half of Nova just to go in through main, and now this time, Nova are trying their best to get through, and the Vise wall, the setup has been completely changed as soon as Nova tried to call the timeout to get any sort of adaptation. They have been punished for it, and Yosemite followed up by, I was going to say I am, but it's more just the rest of the team, as Life pops out through the teleporter, the Outlaw shutting down the push before it can ever start.
If there's one thing that we can attest to, pace is not the solution for Nova. It wasn't the case in Ascent, continues to not be the answer either on this second map. It's an excellent call to pick the Judge. I talked about it a little bit when we were actually in the break, but they didn't even just pull one Sentinel off the A side. They played both Sentinels on B, and it proved to be pretty valuable. Now Yosemite is going to stick to that B side. Thorns and the wall are all great tools. Meanwhile, with the deadlock back on the A side, it can prove to be a much more aggressive solution. Life forced off the angle as the off forced off. The showstopper is still finding CB at the end, and the Grav net can dissuade that push here. A stun, a wide peak, but Azir first to the trigger, and it means that there's still a chance for Nova. Now it's back to a 4-on-4.
They have that information. They know Life has got the operator, the Orc Rose, to try and give any space. The Viper Orb very much reactive. They're not trying to cut off any more space. The Steel Garden as well. No primaries for you, Guang. Able just to hide in the corner of Shires. He is rinsing himself to keep that heat cool.
But that's a Steel Garden gone. That Molotov bought all the time for FPX to bring their guns back up to the task. Still a 4-on-4. Operator, not the best gun in a retake ever. But they got more. Where that came from, another one from Life, and Ayang is able to find a kill from top of the A side here at Heaven. Azir is the next face in. He ducks for now. They'll go for their own Steel Garden. Kills galore for FPX as they humble Nova for the 5th time in this game.
It's still got plenty of rounds left for this half and plenty for the game, but when you start getting to kind of 5 or 6-0, maybe I'm too quick to blow the whistle, but thoughts and doubts of 12-0, 13-0 start to mingle in my head, where it's just enough control. The ultimates just seem phenomenal from FPX, both their own ultimates and their adaptations to Nova's. As you said yourself, the Steel Garden basically got nothing, and then while it wasn't the most valuable Steel Garden from Yosemite, definitely, you know, was enough. They still played off of it excellently, and it was enough to get the round.
Yeah, absolutely. Got the round, and it really forced everybody else to actually find the value necessary. Life with a double kill from the operator. That was really valuable. And not just 24k actually getting the talk, it's the Gia again getting some time to add variations. We've seen both Sentinels on the B site. They swapped over sides back and forth, and I feel like the Brim has definitely been the linchpin of that composition. It is so excellent to see such a conscious use of the utility and Deadlock. I swear, every time I see her coming out, I'm really happy about it. It is well executed by Autumn. And as long as Life and Yosemite keep shooting the way that they are, you don't even need Ayang, Autumn, and Berlin to really show up in the same kind of way that they have. The main problem for Nova, though, if we're going to contrast that, Swirl has not found a single frag yet. And that is scary.
Swirl hasn't had any opportunity to find space. It is so difficult to satchel in when the sound sensor is going to just drop you to the sky. It's so difficult to move when the Gravnet is going to just lock you down to the floor. It's also difficult to move if you keep getting rocketed by your opposing rays. That's also a difficult thing to manage, and you'd mentioned how powerful the Brimstone was. We are seeing at the very least the Orbital Strike online from Azir. There's only one gun from Guang, though, to try and make something, anything happen.
Yeah, and look at that again. FPX double Senti on the B site. Talked about that before. They're very light on their A side presence. And if Nova pulls back and goes back towards the A side, it'll be pretty valuable for them. CB now. Baiting Nightfall. They didn't actually stick the orb the whole way. They're fishing for a peek. But maybe not the best decision, as now Ion can bait into the angle. They got the shear. Don't go for the boost on top. Yosemite apparently cannot find a jump. And Guang with a hero rifle to find the first kill for the team. They're crouched down. Easy work for the boys. And Nova need to keep hold of that A site because their B play have collapsed. The spike is still quite a way away from that A site, which is giving Life more and more time. They're trying to lurk in. That boom bot is gonna buy time for the op to land that shot, and it leaves Guang and Azir 2 on 4.
剩余30秒。
It's pretty difficult, especially if you've got to peek into Life with that operator and Ayang. You'd mentioned you don't really need to see them, but it's nice. They still want to show up, of course. They still want to be on that kill feed. They still want to very much make their presence known that, yes, okay, you might be able to deal with the stars, but there is still plenty of space for us to shine. And look at that. That's just cinema, honestly. The boombot explosion with the op shot lined up and Ayang's crosshair placement just clean, just crisp, and there's no more timeouts anymore for Nova.
Yeah, and honestly, they are in complete free fall. Right now, they're the team that seemingly have frauded all of us and having some faith in map 3. Not really looking that good. They haven't been able to find the answer for either device or the deadlock, so both sides have been a complete lockdown. Again, FPX, they are bound to have a pretty good score on a defense. It is just the fact that even if they're playing double Senti, and sure, they don't have a chamber, so you don't have a pseudo duelist on the second half, but Deadlock has a ton of value in attack with a lot of the powerful grabness that you can use. You can take places like Hugh Hall, you can take places like Kuka here with a good grab net combo, and the Arc Rose as well. Works as an initiator tool, realistically, when you're playing on attack. It's just going to be a question of whether or not FPX are going to continue piling those rounds, because right now Nova looking like they have ran out of answers. They got their guns. Showstopper again, present for Swirl, and they're going to use the Nightfall to attempt to work their way into the side itself. The rocket comes out to take Berlin. It's 2 clean kills, and the answers are denied, even if they do find 2 trades. Advantage solidly with the hands of Nova. Now 3 against 1, and Life on the backstab. Monk was hoping that Life is going to make the mistake, but that's not going to be the case with the spike planted Medante. It feels like this round is over and Life is just better off saving the op.
It's gonna be the case. I can really not see any position or any reality where Life decides to try and push up to this. It's Nova needed that, and I was going to say it just before the collapse onto the site really started. They had the Nightfall, the showstopper. They've got the orbital strike still. There was a possibility there where Nova, even with all the ultimates they committed, and FPX were able to withhold the storm, or survive the storm, I should say. That happened, then I would have put a pretty confident 13-0, at the very least 12-0 half, if Nova, with all those really powerful ultimates, weren't able to commit off of them. There wasn't very much pop from FPX. We see the Annihilation's been used from Autumn, but other than that, the Orbital Strike's online, the Steel Garden's halfway through, the Showstopper's pretty close as well. There's a lot of utility that FPX can use to really continue this. So while it's a good first round from Nova, they're gonna need a bit more.
Well, the most important part for me, Swirl on the board, and apparently morale still looking pretty good for Nova, so you never know how things are going to pan out, especially when FPX are going to switch over to that attack side. I feel like if Nova finds 4 rounds, that is already good enough, but can they even do that, because the economy is looking so good for the defensive side. Autumn, second there with Berlin. That's an early incendiary, and unlike the previous few rounds, if Nova are actually able to absorb util for free, it's gonna make things much easier for them when they try to attack later down the round. The smokes are the longest for Brim out of all the controllers, but that is 1 out of non-regenerating 3 smokes already used.
It's a pretty big factor, and in terms of FPX's utility, it's been pretty difficult for them to not get value off of it. It has to be said. It's very rare they haven't been able to make something with it. Life, perfect reposition from the satchel as well. Gets pushed off very excellently by Nova, and Nova's utility has been solid as well, don't get me wrong. It's just FPX's have always seemed to be that bit stronger as the Shires wall getting broken. The position's all held Autumn and Life ready to go as the burst from Split from me and Anshires comes through.
They force Life down, the orbital strike, take care of Squirrel, he couldn't satchel his way out to safety, and a miss off shot opens up enough space for Nova, not to just find the kill, but to find a space. Annihilation comes in, 2 for Nova though, with their own orbital strike, and now they're gonna try to hold 3-4-3, 2 of which it lands the Heaven player aware of their presence, and CB holding the line. Timing is gonna be everything. They run around still, careful of Heaven. Berlin held by Azir, and they're given some space at the other end, taking care of Guang at short. So it's down to that crossfire, a massive mistake by CB, and could not be recovered either by Azir. Even if the Incinerator is there, the round is plentiful in time, and they will have the defuse. FPX punish Nova for their mistakes.
Those shots, that seemed so written in the stars, and honestly now we see a flip. What was initially on the first map and a half, I would say, where FPX were getting these really solid starts and then Nova were just able to hold on and kind of clutch it back. The opposite seems to be happening now. FPX are so warmed up, they're so ready that even that delayed molly to try and buy as much time, you can see the excitement, the table visibly shifting under the hype of Liguria there. Absolutely phenomenal showing from FPX, and as you said, Nova really needing to keep that positive mental, which so far they are.
I mean, that was an economy reset. If you look at the economy for Nova now, yes, they forced up as many rifles as they can, but it feels much more of a desperation move than anything else, really. And unless they luck out with something, then the round is going to be over. Ion already himself proving that he's got the better stroke of fortune in this round, starting off 5-on-4. At least they keep those guns. I'm pretty sure that they're going to be able to recover the Guardian if they just send a third player there, but that is not the case yet. It should happen now. They've baited off the Sheer. There's plenty of time for Monk to go and pick up the Guardian, but speaking of time, Guang is able to use that. He knows that there's a sonic sensor at this part of the map. Another one on the A side as well from Heaven. Goes to Deadlock. They know where Guang is, and they're trying to isolate the dual Gravnet as well. Nade doesn't go far enough. Doesn't mean that Guang is not gonna die, because they will still go for the peak from Showers. Too late on the trade, and it means it's a pair of kills for FPX, as now it's only CB and Monk left alive.
That's the timing for Nova. They're just not working out, as you said. It's just been all the fortune for the side of FPX. And while, of course, phenomenal play as well, these timings and such have just really been there for FPX. Nova can't quite catch a break on anything they've done. Even Ayang finding the shot through the smoke, which I'm sure we're about to see. There it is. Azir going down, losing your controller on Bind, losing, I believe, your only controller on Bind, or your only flexible controller. Viper can't afford to really do all of that on her own, and Monk hasn't been able to cut up the space. If you look 5 and 8, the best performance from Nova, and it is here.
Yeah, and you gotta say, it is absolutely a masterclass so far from the players of FPX on that defensive side. Not a single mistake has been done. Even that one round, I would say it was just the ultimates swinging in the favor for Nova for it. Without the ultimates, they look like that they cannot really do that much. Only Sheriffs. They'll need to rely on their aim. No ultimates other than the Viper Spit, which will only work if they got the site itself in control, which they do not have. Both Sentinels on the B side. They failed before. The strike the Iron Wire is hot. Ion with just a single kill, and maybe a universe where FPX can be punished. A good trade from Autumn. A second bird to come in, back and forth in the smoke, and the ring around the Rosie does not fool Ion, as him and Life will lock down his sight for 9th.
Young and Azir, they're just happily running about, playing in the smokes, jumping and trying to find each other through all of it. Even the respect given there by the guiding light, even showing. You know, he had the belief that if he swung out of the smoke, the guns actually very much favored Azir. So I do like that. Life just finding the angle there is beautiful, and it's 8-1. It's 9-1 now. It's looking dire for Nova.
Absolutely, they've been caught off by the double senti. It works excellent for FPX so far. Steel Garden, present for Guang this time. Maybe they'll find some better value. A Decay forces life back into the deep angle view hall. And they're farming another Nightfall. Now they got 2 big ultimates for their entry in a site, whether it will be A or B. Yet to be seen. They force the Shear, and one of the Thorns in the A site. Deadlock's utility still fully intact in B. And a Spike, not picked up yet. Nova cleared Imodante. Fishing for an entry, but if you look at a FPX setup, they're not going to give that one away on either part of the map, and they even look aware of Monk's positioning, so it's going to be a game of timing here.
Does seem that even when Nova have got the position, it's very much FPX have let them gain that position. Monk, though, able to clear out towards Yosemite. The shorty clutch frag from Life is at least picking up something. The Viper's Pit has been summoned down. The Spike finally planted as well. CB dropping the Nightfall as well to give as much space as possible. And Azir has picked up the AWP and introducing FPX to the other side of it. The Molly drops, the swing to just buy some time. He can't find the shot, but that's more than okay. Guang will find it too. An Autumn in a 1 versus 4 clutch with a Viper's Pit online and an Operator from Azir. At the very least, Nova need a 9-3.
Yeah, that's the bare minimum. 9-3 and a pistol, which is something that they haven't really been able to find a lot of success on. So maybe some hope for FPX. But as he said, that 9-3 without defensive, the FPX comp can lead to problems. We have seen, though, them being able to convert clutches and post plants. So that is going to be the real thing for them to rely upon. I love how confident FPX are, though, in the comms. You know, that they're like, don't hit my sight. You know, they're really confident in the way that they're playing this game. But that confidence might dwindle a bit. They got more ultimates on their end. But if an opener is presented to Nova, especially with how aggressive Life has been playing this game, maybe they will be able to flip the tables on the defense.
Not too many ultimates were even needed to be used by Nova. They've still got a lot. You've got Steel Garden, you've got Showstopper, you've got a lot. Oh, Life trying to answer back with his own. And Swirl has been forced out as well. Neither Showstopper finding too much. A little bit of damage on at the very least, so that is something. But Showstopper for a Showstopper, if you're FPX, you're more than happy with that. Nova have been so reliant on these ults to create any sort of space, to give themselves any sort of positional advantage. And with one less, you're more than pleased if you're FPX.
Yeah, Life can find more even. They might line up here. They find a shoulder of the first. Monk and Swirl trading back for Nova. That's exactly what they needed. They want to make it a 9-3. But steps still being made. They proceed in the land of Ayong, and he's gonna send the cabbages. Eat your veggies, kids! As he's absolutely schooling Nova on that one. Now left to the 2-on-3. The Steel Garden comes in at a good time for Nova, and they try to take it with a pivot, but there are still Deadlock Util in that B side, playing off that timing to annihilate Swirl. They will still catch him, and Swirl is trying to cancel that drop, but that means that Yosemite guarantees the round, as they will be pulled to their immediate death at the end. Double digits for FPX as they dominate the defensive side of the bind.
And here's the thing. I want to point out, Guang dies with his Steel Garden still intact, not maintained. The shears, fittingly enough, are not keeping that very presentable at all. Love Ayang here, just gets the frag and immediately pops the Seekers. You cannot afford to lose your ultimates. You cannot afford to lose your life before your ultimates on that last half. And now we're on the halftime, or the last round of the halftime, apologies, and now a minute left. FPX only 3 rounds necessary, a 50% win-loss on the pistol. So as far as we're concerned, this may as well be a coin toss.
I mean, you say it may be a coin toss. I feel like there's a clear favorite in that one. Everybody's gonna be like, oh, you know, Phantom is okay. Like, let's be very clear about it. The Phantom statistically better, okay?
Yes,
but there's nothing like heading a Vandal one tap. Bam! It just like, it's instant dopamine. But apparently, people are wisening up to the antics. They want their RR more than they want their self-satisfaction.
That's the at what point do you sacrifice pride for, you know, efficacy? At what point do you sacrifice pride for efficiency? And honestly, the crowd are very, very evenly matched here, much like FPX's pistol capacity. It seems to basically be a 50% choice between Vandal and Phantom as we get into the second half. Nova now have to do it all. They are against a team with double Sentinel on attack, but as you've mentioned, Vault, Deadlock can do quite a bit, and Vise is no slouch herself with the utility on attack.
Oh, we'll see how things go. Of course, if you do remember, FPX in Group Omega still got a couple more tough opponents to play against. Dragon Ranger are there. Sheloy, all gamers. They are taking down Nova for now. Definitely far and away in the lead. 8 rounds ahead. And if they do find a pistol, Medante, it's going to be the end of the road. I'm looking at Nova's defensive setup. 3 strong on the A site. Relying on the, I guess, the 2 anchors to double down on the B side and buy enough time for them here.
That's the thing, you do have to run through a Viper wall to get onto this site. That is tough. You're essentially looking at a 30% health decrease just for trying to push the B site, and FPX at the moment not at all deterred by that. We see the Trailblazer come through towards long, does get a lot of information, and the rapid firing back site, and it's going to go the way of Nova. At least Guang's able to pick up one, and Azir is able to pick them up as the rotates come through as well. Nova are super prepared, at least, to say it is not over just yet.
They're fired up. They know what they need to do. And that's the thing about this composition from FunPlus Phoenix. It just doesn't have the pace. Yes, they spotted the Viper. Yes, they try to speed their way up into the halls. But a lack of mobility means that everybody in their lineup is going to be a lot slower. Only Life can speed across compared to the rest of the team. And not just the anchoring itself, but the rotates on the Flood as well were perfect in lining up all those shots. They need more of that though. They cannot afford to make any single mistake. Not here, not even in the bonus.
It's a lot they need to do. You're forcing them to be as consistent as possible, but they are walking into the oven that Azir has planted on the ground, and Life is the first to fall, get melted down. Picks up another one himself. Azir suddenly coming online, very much so in the orbital strike. That is a beautiful flick from Swirl, and because of that now the position's already completely collapsed. Yosemite trying to cross out, and he will not be granted access.
Yeah, I guess it's just running part of course now. 5 classics, no investments from this side of FPX. And they get found in the right way. But I guess if there's something that I'm going to touch on, is like, yeah, that utility dump towards the player that is playing towards U-Haul. It is going to be very valuable once you got the full purchase, because the Graphnet actually goes through walls. So
yes,
you can't sit in the back end. You're going to have to go on the right. And if they time both the C's and the Graphnet together, that player in the U-Hauls will be absolutely devastated by the sheer amount of util that they have. Nova, I love that they are contesting the orbs early, but Swirl got to be careful. No exits for him. He might have to take the teleport because I feel like he's going to be caught otherwise. Taking a plenty of damage, down to 46 HP. And unlike Nova, there's no Sky to heal up on the other end.
It's a good factor to bring in. Any damage is permanent damage for Nova. Any shot landed is a potential shot that doesn't need to be a headshot, that does just need to be a body shot, a leg shot, or even just a wall bang. So very important to consider this as Yosemite trying to gauge out where the shear is right now, playing around the one way for the smoke. Doesn't get seen just yet from anyone at the moment towards that A site, and FPX still looking more committal towards this B site as Autumn is able to open it up with the rest of the team shooting the haunt. And as you said, there is the regrowth and the rotate from Yosemite to engage onto this B site.
Well, they tried to speed through. Explosive is Life. 35 seconds only on the timer. CB took a big risk, and they are gonna punish that one. Double kill from his ear. Brings the game back to neutrality. 2 on 2. The deadlock util locking off the spawn entrance. Lock and key. Anything that they'll try to make a move on the side of Nova is covered by a piece of the deadlock util. Sonic sensors cannot detect though. That monk has gone that far forward, but they're on for a second ace for today. It was Yosemite first for FPX. Now Autumn looking to spring forth more fire. Guang will wait for the Beshmarier to go down, and it will B. 11 rounds for FPX. It doesn't seem that they're going to be able to contest that one. Detected by the sonic sensors. Even if the deadlock is not needed, there's already a Yosemite on the angle. Too little, too late it is for the boys, and they'll have to run with their tail tucked between their legs. FPX only needs 2 more rounds, Medante.
Yeah, the Gravnet and Annihilation still online as well. You are not getting that post-plant scenario other than just a straight miracle double flick, which to be fair we have seen, but we can see how just ready Autumn is right now. He's always with his team, he's always getting the refrag. That was a beautiful fight from Azir, who's very much trying to command the space and command everything he can, but Autumn's awareness right now of how Nova are playing is just absolutely flawless, it has to be said. And as we said, Annihilation online, you mentioned that Nova couldn't really trip and fall. This is the only stumble I'd say they're allowed.
Yeah, no more. Now playing the rest of this game on a knife's edge. FPX, careful about that one. They can hear 2 players being caught by the Gravnet. That means that they're going to move back towards the opposite side. Monk spawning the one. Lucky that he didn't take more damage there on that sequence. They know where those players are. It's a miniature boost for Wong on the angle, trying to contest. They know what a shear is. They commit through it. The Thorn and the shear used. Yosemite could still jump on top if they want to. They got an entire minute. That is an overuse of the orbital strike. Still, at least will net them their first as they try to double dip on short again.
I honestly don't hate the orbital strike usage. The worst thing you can do, as I've said, is die with your ult and not get any value. Azir manages to pick up 1. It was risky. I absolutely, you know, it was a risky gambit, but it did pay off. Getting that frag can actually be so pivotal. You don't have the satchels to jump in anymore, and FPX are running down this clock right now. They don't really have the time, and if Yosemite can't land his shots, they're going to have even less. The Gravnet tries to find the backup with the Molly. Monk finding it through the smoke, has no concern. It's just a suggestion as it's all on Ayang. They know where he is, and the convergence from Nova should hopefully for them converge into an 11-5 scoreline.
Well, maybe not yet. 1 on 3, yes, but they might present single duels. Luckily enough for Nova, time is going to be the enemy of Ayang. He's just gonna dip into that teleport, try to save that one gun. So they are still walking the tightrope, as we like to say. But their journey is so long in this one. I don't even know if they have the mental resilience, because it has been 2 games that I would say aren't the longest, but they have definitely been mentally stressful for us to watch.
That's, yeah, like, they haven't been, like, we look at the scoreline very quickly. You see 13-6, you see 13-8, but those rounds have been pretty damn close. There's not, I think, what, 2 flawlesses this series so far, maybe 3. There hasn't really been much in the way of, you know, complete shutdowns of rounds. We've also been seeing Nova in particular very comfortable to, like, wait out the clock and play with all the time they are given. So while the scorelines would imply it's been pretty short, this series has actually been going on for some time. It seems FPX, the team of teeth, all smiles. Nova, a bit more focused and locked in.
Yeah, we're almost running into our 3rd hour here. And by China metrics, that is the longest we probably have seen. I know that, you know, we're both from EMEA, so we know how long the games can be, but it might not take that long. Sure, it's only a Sheriff and a Guardian, but if they open up the space and Monk is not careful, it could be the coup de grace delivered. Nova now are careful of each and every nook and cranny that is in that map. They're still at showers, but the pivot from FPX Medante are actually back towards that B site. They're trying to at least find something before they commit to one of those 2 sites, but the utility, of course, is not there anymore as Guang is dead. Azir will need to rely on Monk for them to shoot their way out of this anchor.
Well, indeed. As he tucks himself into the wall, and Monk is good for 1. He does fall. The Annihilation doesn't hit its target. That's big for Nova. It is 1 less ultimate you have to worry about, and Azir is exactly who you need to worry about right now. Autumn has done nothing but work with the Guardian here. Taps the spike, assumes someone's going to be rushing out of that defender side. It's not going to be the case. Both of them staring at him from that hookah position. 11-6 and an ultimate used from the side of FPX. Nova are clawing this back, tooth and nail.
Why are you cursing it? Like, why?
I am.
Just let it go, let it go, let it go, Dante, okay? This is some track-by-track Valorant. There is no room for error for them in this one if they want to win in regulation. And that would have been a crucial mistake if, by the way, if they jumped down and then the deadlock stun got them both, that would have been the round then and there. So fortunately enough for Nova, they're able to find that one. Remember, both timeouts still available for FPX, and they still keep their buffer, but Nova are working their way respectfully into this one. FPX back on the default, pretty light on the extremities, but it's clear that they want to fight the util dump towards A short.
Indeed, and CB, Life getting actually his ultimate taken away by CB there, perfect. And in fact, it's a very aggressive push from Nova here. This is putting a little bit of concern onto me, as meanwhile Life towards Shars has got the showstopper, finds one, is able at the very least swirl, dodges out of the way of that second frag, but that is still more than enough. Position gained, ultimate used, value achieved, spike planted.
Yeah, and now you need to rely on Guang and Monk. No ultimates for Nova to even out the edge. You need to shoot it out. Young holding the angle. Monk with the first peek. He goes down. And it seems like they have it in the chamber. They're looking for the final kill. But Guang will take it back. And it will not be enough. Not yet. Young and Berlin will have to take Swirl. And they don't have it. The silver bullet is gonna be delivered by Berlin. All they need is one more round to close off this best of 3.
That was silver. They just need to hit gold now. One more to seal the deal. As you said, this position, this timing from Life. Shoyer's just given up completely is heartbreaking. Ayang able to take that fight. It was a solid kind of throwback from Guang, and we even actually see the attempted Seekers maybe, and you see the energy. FPX, they have taken the momentum that they have gained from beating Wolves, and they are really wanting to make it work.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, while they're not really, like, I guess, on top of the world in terms of being, like, the best team ever in terms of like how their map veto go. Yeah, but with the maps that they are playing now, with how shortly they have been working with the Gia, they're looking really good. I love this double sentinel comp. They've made it work. They've made it theirs, and they found the opening. They might strike gold. Instead, Swirl is gonna strike on their doppelgangers. Traders are still good, and Nova are careful of the trade. FPX in the lead, and they will be able to heal up Autumn, which does mean that now Nova are struggling. This is their final feed, and they hope it won't fail them now.
I'm surprised at FPX's patience here. 2 frags, and you heard the TP. You know, you would expect that there's only one more player on this side minimum. The more time that is left, the more time it allows for a rotate, but it's actually not a rotate in a way you would expect. It's Nova trying to join the winning side. It's the 2 members in CB and Swirl kind of going, we would like to join this team instead, as the Steel Garden comes through from Yosemite. Has to push a Seer out. The Steel Garden as well, it was online for Guang, but as long as he's dead, that's not going to be a factor. Yosemite, here's the reload and swings off of it. There seems to be some information gained. FPX seem to understand that the flank is a double one at that, and all the utility still to work with. This is leading the way of them to finish it off. The Steel Garden comes through. The Orbital Strike to find its mark. It doesn't quite yet. As the smoke dissipates and Swirl falls, it's one last member. It's CB to do or die, and it looks at the minute it's actually do. Nightfall's coming down. He's got one more opportunity, but the double swing, the setup, it finally goes from do to die, and FPX take it 2-1.
Well, that is what happens to Supernova. It burns too bright, and it ended up in the case here. FPX continuing their solid run of 4, now 2-0 in Group Omega. They will try to lead it up. You can call him the cleaner, but I would say it was a valiant effort from Nova in this one, and they definitely do deserve their GGs. I would love to see them back. This is now, what, 0-2 for them as well? Because they lost their opening game to DRG. So, you know, there are definitely still some easier games to be had in their group. But, okay, I say that, like, honestly, the group looks like filthily disgusting. You know, sure, XLG are not in their best run of form, but they found their opener against AG, and All Gamers seems to be the only easy opponent that they'll have here. But even then, All Gamers have delivered a scary game 1 against XLG. So you never know what's gonna happen, but I feel like FPX have established themselves as one of the top 4 that will make it through the playoffs.
Yeah, it seems very much that's established. And the only thing I want to say, it seems FPX, when they are accused of fraud, they bring receipts. They've done their taxes, they've done everything. A phenomenal showing from them, it really has to be said. And yeah, honestly, a fantastic back and forth from Nova, but it just... FPX just seemed that much more tuned in.
Yeah, I know, they're tuned in. They got the lockdown. We are looking at some of those highlights, and honestly speaking, that defensive side, if maybe Nova found a few more rounds there, that would have been a different game, because then they would have had gotten more of a buffer. They just couldn't handle that at the end, and it's rounds like these where you gotta question, like, if the util usage was a bit better, could have they actually found like Yosemite on that angle and then had an easy entrance in hookah instead of losing 2 or 3. This was like their 1 round after such a dry spell, and it took so much out of their ultimate economy that it led into them not really finding that much. The good thing about Nova though is even though they've lost, you can tell they were still in high spirits. They understand how strong FPX are looking into the second stage, and it's not over for them just yet. I think All Gamers are probably gonna bow out of playoffs, so it is going to be a fight between what are now Nova, probably VRG and XLG for the other spot. Wolves are not looking good so far too. You know, they're still 0-1, but they're the team that I feel like everyone after the international performance have high hopes of.
That's the thing. Wolves have just so much put themselves kind of on the map, but the problem is when you're on the map like that, there's also a target on your back. You've kind of made this you know, moment for you, but we'll be jumping into the team calls. We'll be letting you hear the atmosphere and the energy, and then we'll be right back with you.
左边左边，没咬到没咬到没咬到，I got a buy。打不了算了，回来打不了回来。看不卡，打不了。他们用锁用雷用火，得用这毛笔3笔，不认识动笔，不认识动笔。哎呀，打个闪，不卡闪了，我去爆位了。Viper 黑屋，Viper 是守卫，Viper 位置在守卫啊，他道具有点多。没事，我去爆位。对，我觉得包庇更好，他避的没道具了，零道具啊。他道具用完了，哦对，所以他给雷给火。那你把他重新控 B 到，不要从护克跳。先把他那个行了，他没了，对，上去。No nade no band。别急，我去把 A 的墙骗了。哎，我也就。It's okay, let's go. Marker, follow. 不行啊，他们3个 B， 我觉得。OK， 我先搞，我先搞。A 的墙我骗了。别急，突，抽。2的 B 2雷，直接打2的 B 2雷，直接打。对，2的 B 2雷，2的 B 2雷。Let's go. I'm ready flashing. Flashing. One up. 包点闪。Backside. 丢。喷了。然后F 回去，还有 flash 不一样。I will hold my flank, okay? Yeah. Okay. Let's see people. I have flash. 我好像听到地上有个脚步，这边。You have double. Chill. Watch elbow. CT. Chill. No use.
Still 5 more seconds.
Yeah. Just fall back. Just run. It's fine. I have flash as well. Elbow. Chill. Wall down now. Yep. Yeah, nice. Good. I will flash first. Yep. 小先去打，还有大他能保底的。Saving. Nice. Go.
Yeah, it ended up with a save there, and honestly, a very well-deserved MVP. You've got to say, life has been a revelation on the duelists, and it is absolutely beautiful to see like such a high impact. 7 multi-kills again, so this is the second time that we see that being a stat line. Maybe a little bit less on the ACS and the damage per round, but that is due to the 2 Sentis just hogging all the spotlight when they're on defense.
Is that 7, 7, and 6 then for the multi-kill stats? I believe it is over the course of these 3 games.
I think 7, 7, and 5, if I'm not
7,
mistaken.
7, and 5. Okay, cool. it's nice to see Azir, and I was gonna, because Azir was really the one that was like, when FPX were kind of getting away, and even in the first game where Nova took it, it very much was Azir that seemed to just be creating the clutch moments. But if you look at the rest of the scoreline, it's FPX are just running away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the first half of it. We had like a timeline view. That scoreline there, the 10-2, just too much to come back from, I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, sure, it was a valiant effort from Nova to pull a few rounds together. By the time that the ultimates came rolling, it was just impossible to really stop them for that long. And not just that, but FPX individually, again, have been great. Yosemite on both sides has been good. And this time, it's picture perfect. All three of those rounds that they planted a spike, they were able to get in, able to finish the job, unlike Nova, who faltered twice. And maybe if one of those two can actually be the important part. If there's something that I will just have to actually steal from the Chinese desk that they talk about a little bit, they were saying that, CB's fragging has been struggling a little bit on the side of Nova ever since that they've moved over to IGLing. And I'll have to concur with that, because they felt a little bit lacking in the fragging department when they were playing on attack. They needed somebody to chime in. Unfortunately, CB wasn't it today. But hey, they get their time to just refocus and maybe find something else. Because whatever they did on the Haven, that was great. If they're able to find more maps where they play that calm and confident and they have so many ideas, they are a force to be reckoned with. But their main problem, unlike FPX, is actually their map pool is pretty narrow. FPX seems to be able to do a whole lot right now.
FPX can kind of meet you where you'd like. You can't force FPX to play your game, because your game is also what they know. So that is a very difficult challenge, I would say. One last thing in terms of what Nova can just improve on, I think the First Bloods go to show it. So it was 13-6 was the scoreline, but the First Bloods were 11-8. So that's just going to show that Nova were getting First Bloods actually quite a lot, but occasionally giving FPX that space. So I would say that's the case, and we're just going to be jumping over to the interview.
Hello， 大家好，我是 FunPlus 来福。
欢迎你，也恭喜你们赢下了这场比赛的胜利。因为 FunPlus 还是和我们印象中的一样，非常喜欢创新和变化。今天也采用了很多回换冷体系，是出于怎么样的考虑呢？
And you guys have used a lot of whaley comps today. And what's like the thought process behind it?
换冷更加全面，能够比截锋更加的帮助到团队，能够有更多的。
And he says that after team discussion, they concluded that whaley was better for like a team coordination than Jet.
非常依赖于队友的配合的。那现在他加强过后，会不会觉得打起来稍微自由一些呢？
其实说实话，我
And were the whaley buffs helping whaley to be more
对，
flexible?
就像我刚刚说的，教练组我们觉得，包括我自身也觉得换人确实能够更多的帮助到团队，我还是需要再练一练换人的手练。
And he says yes.
还是希望可以为团。
And he says I think I still have to like practice a bit on in my familiarity on whaley.
地图的话，确实展现出了一个非常强的战术储备以及配合，但是你们的调整能力是非常快的。第一张地图过后的调整主要是什么样的？
And how do you guys adjust after map
大
1?
家第一张图结束之后，我们都就是不用去想了，因为我们脑子里面始终相信。
And we didn't think too much after map
力
1.
量是很强大的，就是我们。
And they really just believed they could win.
哪怕图一我们很狼狈的输了也无所谓，对我们相信。
相信自己永远都是最重要的，因为当前版本其实更多也是一个慢打拉扯的版本，所以很多人会说感觉这个。
And they say that the current version is a bit of slow and push and pull version.
在这个版本，你们会如何发挥自己以及团队的最大优势呢？
And how do you think you can display the team's like biggest strengths in this version?
感觉我们 FunPlus 新来的教练很适合我们，对，所以说。
And he says that contrary to that, I think the coach is like of much bigger help to us and more important.
全新的不一样的 FunPlus， 因为这回如果想要最后进入到巴黎，其实你们是有着很大的名次上的压力的。那会用什么样的？
And they're talking about the FPX's qualification process.
我们虽然说很难进巴黎，但是我们还是一样相信，对，相信自己的力量是很强大的。
And they said that even though it's kind of hard to get into Paris, we'll try our hardest.
结果如何，过程如何
And they will believe that they can do it.
永远都会相信自己，相信团队。我想所有的观众也会一如既往的相信来福。那再一次感谢来福接受我们的采访，我们的赛后采访。
And that's it for the interview.
结束了，接下来让我把镜头交还给解说席。
Well, it is lovely, honestly, to see a team that, You know what? I love the fact that FPX just said, you know what, guys, maybe we don't actually need as many roster changes as we just need more structure to be brought to the team. I think they have brought a lot of that. You can tell that the team just feels a lot more confident. They're experimenting a lot more as well, and they are happy with that, which is something that is great. Because I think when they bring that to, well, I mean, China is a region that doesn't really conform to the meta. In comparison to a lot of the other parts of the world, but that means that you're able to find things like that way. Sure, it was a miss on the Haven, but it was an absolute success on the Ascent, and we've seen a lot of value brought out of it. Map 3 as well with the double Senti, it brought a ton of value, and I feel like that is something that will make problems for the rest of the leaderboard, because when you think about the next few games, Wolves are playing against All Gamers tomorrow, but I'm actually more interested into the next game that will be there for FPX. They're going to be playing against DRG, and DRG is one of those teams that I feel like have problems when they're thrown a monkey wrench in terms of the agent selection. Sometimes it doesn't work out that well for them.
It's fun to kind of see, because, you know, Life has obviously been, you know, showing up the top 5, you know, both in terms of the ACS and just the kind of, you know, the full assist and the damage that he's been doing has been phenomenal to see. One thing that I'm interested to see if what will happen to FPX is, with Waylay now getting quite a bit of love from Life, and even saying that they just completely agreed that Waylay gives a bit more value than Jet in terms of team coordination, you suddenly set yourself up as like the giant who can fall if other teams decide to run Waylay and can do it better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. That's always the case with the Pioneer. The Pioneer is not the best person to do it. They're just the first person to do it, and they gain a lot of value out of that. We spoke about the first match, All Gamers taking on Wolves. It's going to be pretty intriguing, considering that All Gamers are actually able to scalp something off of XOG. JDG Billy, well, the production doesn't agree with me, and I'm sorry to say that, Magnum. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive matchup in Group Alpha as well.
I would say so. I mean, I've definitely been loving to see Billy come through. JDG as well have been doing phenomenal. So yeah, that's really all there is for a much longer, I believe, series than we'd initially expected. I know 2 zeros were being flown around and 2 1s for FPX, and of course we've got the predictions now. We can review the receipts both for Fraud PX and for the caster predictions. In fact, here we are. So
hey, I got the prediction win. You know, I rage baited and I still won. That's all I'm gonna say.
And nowhere in writing does it say that you changed your mind. We don't have it anywhere in writing. So as far as we're concerned, the graphic tells the truth. The graphics don't lie. So yeah, phenomenal setup from them. And yeah, with that, everything. Volt, any kind of last we send off things before we go?
I mean, honestly speaking, guys, I think that Malante, it's always been a pleasure. I know you came in clutch here today. Thank you so much for showing up. Always a pleasure to be working alongside you. And a big thank you, not just to you and Magnum as well, and Bios, of course, for the translation for the interview, but everyone who's tuning in here to support Project Horizon. We are actually supported by you and your love. You know, whether it is you tuning into the streams, sharing our streams across the board, or maybe if you want to, you can be one of our subscribers or supporters down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love Chinese VALORANT, and we hope we deliver it to you in the best case possible. We will see you guys tomorrow. Tune in a little bit earlier because we're gonna have 2 games. And with that, guys, without any further ado, we hope you all have a wonderful day.